Yo, it's yo boy, Orion, one half of the Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. We're doing Fantasy Football Friday, the Fanatic style, the Fanatic way. I want to see what everyone is doing tonight. I'm going to be going online here probably, I don't know, we'll say probably for an hour or so, depending on, who has questions. If you want me to get your lineup right, I help many different people draft their teams, manage their teams, help them get to championships. Usually when I'm helping someone, me and Marcus take it pretty seriously. We try to get everyone at least top 3, especially if you're in an expensive money league. It's important. You want to make sure that you're on point. You draft well, but not only have people drafted already, you want to make sure you get your lineup right, guys on the wire. And like I said, some people have leagues that are, for fun. They have it with their friends, but some of us, right, have leagues that are, $50 buy-in, $100 buy-in, $150 buy-in. I got one league that I'm doing right now, $1,200 for first place. So $1,200 for first place for me. I don't know about y'all, but that's a lot of money. Second place I believe is $450 or $500. Third place I think is the $150 buy-in. You get that back. And if it's a 12-man league, you're not only playing for the respect, right, the pride, but you want to make sure you get that money, right? It's a combination of everything. Michael Pierpont, what to do? Bradley Barber, haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're ready for your team this season. I know you are. Eckler or Zeke? Is that a real question, Pierpont? Come on now. You already know who to go with that. Eckler would be a good flex. You know what I mean? Depending on who you already have there. If you have a really good wide receiver, but Eckler's starting, obviously. But I know you're trolling. Zeke, obviously, is the man. Chafino, Ravens flock. What to do? Agin, what's up? Hunter Canterbury, little bit of the bubbly. I know you guys saw a couple of the videos that I did. So we did Tyreek the Freak Hill. I did that because obviously, I'm on the grind every day, all day, bringing the fire, right? Marcus is gone, hanging out, I believe, with his son from before, but I think that right now he's got some personal stuff that he's doing with his girlfriend. So I know that he's not able to come today, but maybe we can link up on the weekend since I am going to go to the Ducks game tomorrow. I got 4th row seats behind the Duck bench, taking a couple people, so I'm excited. It's going to be a fun time. But I did the Tyreek the Freak video. Obviously, he got his nice little extension, got his bag, got his guap. Then I ended up doing an amazing video that you guys might have watched. The best quarterback of all time, the GOAT. Not Tom Brady, right? Not Joe Montana, not Aaron Rodgers, right? Not Brett Favre, right? We're talking about Mitch Trubisky. It's a pretty entertaining video, shows how great he is. As the best quarterback in the league right now, Mitch Trubisky. If you watch that Bears and Packers game, what can I say? It was amazing. Amazing accuracy, amazing footwork. Even though that people, if they want to poke fun and say, well, have fun with Jameis. Well, I hate Jameis. Let's be real. I hate Jameis. I would take Jameis over Mitch Trubisky. So that tells you something right there. He's got a long way to go. Gurley all day. Antonio Brown, fly like a butterfly. Sting, we have obviously here with me and Marcus. So I have AB, me and Marcus do in the YouTube league. Everyone is like, oh, you're the one that has him. So I thought, hey, if he ends up going and gets suspended for a game or so, that it is what it is if it happens. But I didn't think they would just cut out and release him because Gruden knows, it's a part of his job, to be able to have the security. You're going to have your best player on your team. Really, if you think about all the players that are on the roster, like right now, AB's probably the best player. And it brings the most drama. And then he came out with a video on YouTube with a conversation with Gruden, and it was kind of an edited video and showing his family and him and how he feels. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's like, he's going like in wrestling when you watch like ECW or WCW or WWF. Michael Pierpont, $4.99. Thank you so much. I'm going to definitely look in everything for you here in a second. I just want to continue on AB real quick, but thank you so much for your donation. You're one of the realest in the channel, so I appreciate you very much. But AB came out with a video. I don't know if you guys saw it. If you guys have Twitter, Facebook, It's on YouTube and Twitter. It's blowing up right now, but it's like about a minute 30 video, 2-minute video if you haven't seen it, and it has kind of like a recent conversation from probably today. So I'm not sure if Gruden knew that he was being recorded and that turned into a video, but I think it doesn't really matter. And people are saying Gruden is soft. I know Gruden better than anybody. I mean, obviously with, seeing him, in his trail, obviously in the Andy Reid coaching tree from back in the day, Holmgren, all them, we see him go to the Eagles and work his way up. Raiders, right? Bucks, now back to the Raiders, right? And obviously he's going to want to be on AB's side. And they're saying, they should have suspended him. And, and it's like Mayock is in this role for the first time. And Gruden, if you cut AB, I mean, yes, there's a lot of drama there. But, I mean, right now you're trying to just stay from the bottom. So it's going to be the Broncos and Raiders trying to compete for that third spot. I mean, they're hoping that they can get past the second spot and somehow just get behind the Chiefs. And then somehow the Chargers get more banged up. And then you're fighting. But in reality, you're kind of fighting for third in the AFC West. And it may not be this year, but like I said, in the next few years, I feel that the Raiders, once they go to Vegas, they will make a wild card. But the drama that they have right now, it's crazy. I was okay to move on and have AB on the bench for as long as it was going to happen. I can find new pieces, to be able to put in and not just the obvious, not like a Tyrell Williams if he's just sitting on the wire. You know what I mean? You got to be able to think outside the box and really break down stats and see who's good in the slot, outside, how many targets. You know how it goes with fantasy. But, interesting to really see how that works out because he's going from like a face. If you guys watch wrestling, those are the good guys, and then the heels are the bad guys. So for me, seeing the transition of growing up and, watching wrestling since I was like 3, 4, like around the mid-'80s. So I saw the birth of really the Hulk Hogan era, where wrestling really took off, just like in a lot of sports and some of the athletes that were there. And going from the face of the, best good guy of all time, Hulk Hogan, right? Eat your vitamins, say your prayers, Hulkamania running wild on you, brother, right? And then going NWO, right? Hollywood Hogan, new world order for life, brother, right? That was my favorite. I'm a heel guy, you know what I mean? But AB is literally turning in to Hollywood Hogan. It's crazy, like to be a guy that was really respected, not a lot of drama, and then now all of a sudden it just seems like this 360 happened last year. And I wonder like what it is. Is it someone chirping in his ear? Is it money? Is it ego? Is it a mental health issue? I mean, is there something literally, is this all an angle? You know what I mean? Or is there something wrong? You know what I mean? A lot of players take big hits. They get the CTE. They don't notice right away, and then all of a sudden they get suicidal and they hurt themselves or they hurt others, and they're not right after football. So it's just kind of like, I don't know necessarily it's that, but I mean, you never really know nowadays. It's pretty crazy, but we can definitely talk about that and kind of go over that. Michael Pierpont, he said, look at my team and the league we're in together and tell me who to start. Hey, I'll do that. I don't mind. You know what I mean? You donated $4.99, brother. I can give you advice in your league. You know what I mean? I feel I had a draft today that I helped out with someone that was in Boise, right? One of my buddies that I used to work with, and a $500 first place prize. So I mean, this is real deal. And I'm at work, honestly, no joke. And I'm supposed to be talking to business owners. I'm multitasking. I'm on the phone. I'm going a screenshot. Who's running back? Screenshot. Wide receiver. I'm going through, and we had a pretty spectacular draft. And like I said, I've helped him before, but I feel that this team that I constructed for him, just to kind of give you guys, an idea of what, I feel I'm capable of. There's a lot of people that are great at fantasy. There's guys that are horrible. Some people know how to draft and know how to play. Others auto draft, or they don't really know. They kind of get it. But there is a method to the madness, with the drafting. So I'm going to read off this team that I built for my friend. Pretty much drafted the whole team for him, even though I just told him who to have. It's not like I had control of the actual app for him. But this is his team, and I feel that he can win this $500 first place prize, regardless if it's a 10 or 12-man league. And then I'll answer questions, go over everything. So here we go. So he started off, and he said he had pick 10. So if you're in a 12-man league, that's not the greatest pick, but if it's snake, or even if it goes back around, I mean, you still can be confident in who you pick, okay? So I think he picked Chubb. So Chubb was the first, pick there. And I was like, okay. And then he tells me, hey, should I grab Dalvin Cook with the second one? I said, no. You're going to want to be able to get some balance. And as you know, in fantasy, if you're great at it, you can't go too heavy at wide receiver, or running back. I mean, it's kind of the thing that you want to do, running back, because you want to have two awesome running backs and awesome flex that's a running back rather than a wide receiver, because they can run and they can catch. Duh. It gets you more points. Even if you have a fire, third option flex wide receiver, right? So you have 3 wide receivers instead of those 3 running backs. It typically doesn't work out unless you have like a superstar, that can be like AB at your flex. Then, you're really rolling. Then your team's deep, right? But I like to be able to mix it up. So for him, after he picked Nick Chubb, I think it was Juju was there and like Odell and a few others, and then there were some running backs, and I told him, hey, we'll get the running backs later. We can do it. I'll build this roster for you. So he tries to pick Juju, right? And then when we get done with the draft, he's like, a player's missing, and he's freaking out, right? So I think he pushed the button 1 second too late, and it auto-drafted only 1 pick in this $500 league because he was just too slow, and it was Odell Beckham Jr. So for me, I know he was pissed because I wanted him to have Juju. I think that's a better player. It's someone that I feel that the stat line could be a little bit higher as far as upside, the ceiling. But Odell, with as long as he can stay healthy for at least like 13 games, maybe miss a couple but be there, huge upside. Baker's going to take his game to the next level, and it was a pretty damn good pick. So Chubb and then Odell Beckham Jr. Then after that, Aaron Jones. Okay, who? Aaron Jones. Struggled against the Bears D, but anyone would. So boom, now Chubb, Aaron Jones, Odell Beckham. It's looking sexy, right? Then go wide receiver again, right? Mix it up. Then Godwin from Tampa Bay. So now you got a sleeper wide receiver that's going to break out, period, and it's looking pretty sexy. Odell, Godwin, Chubb, Jones, right? Then after that, Chris Carson somehow, some ways is sitting there. I'm like, okay, see, that's why we didn't pick Dalvin Cook. He'll probably get injured for the Vikings. You don't go that route, right? So now his team is looking really sexy on paper, and I can feel the money coming my way. Chubb, right? Odell, so I'll go them in order so you can kind of break it down. So Chubb, Aaron Jones, right, and Chris Carson at the flex. Are you kidding? Right? It's crazy, right? Odell Beckham Jr. and Godwin at the wide receivers. So you not only got a big name guy, but you got a smaller name guy that's going to put up similar points. Consistency will be key for him. Godwin. Then we go tight end because I want to make sure he doesn't get a booty one. And we somehow, by some way, late got Ingram from the Giants. So he's probably around that 4 or 5 range. So you got Kelsey, Zach Ertz, Kittle, O.J. Howard, right? And then Ingram, O.J. Howard. So you're getting a nice little piece there, whether you get a guy from the Giants or the Bucs. So I'm like, okay. Now I would like to have a little bit higher of a piece, even at O.J. Howard, but I still like that. Boom. And then after that, I think we ended up picking up Melvin Gordon, right, for nothing. He's just sitting there. If they're not going to take him and stash him, I said, hey, we'll take him. So boom, Melvin Gordon. Then we go for another stash dive. AJ Green sitting there. Hey, if it's 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th round and guys like that are sitting there, you grab them, right? Because the thing is if Melvin Gordon gets healthy and he's on a team and AJ Green comes back after a month, that's a championship squad. Then boom, right? I want Russell Wilson, 1 pick too late. Jared Goff. So now the lineup looks like this, and it's fire, and this guy's going to win. Jared Goff at the 2 running back spots in the flex. Ingram at the tight end. Melvin Gordon, right, on the bench. A.J. Green. Are you freaking kidding me? And then another running back. Oh, who should I grab? Geis for the Redskins? Oh, don't mind if I do. Geis there on the bench, right? I wanted a good quarterback to back up. Obviously, Jared Goff. I wanted Big Ben. He was gone. So the only one that was left that had value, Kirk Cousins. Throw him on there. You don't need to have someone that's great, just someone maybe for a week. We don't need to keep him, but just to make sure that there's someone left there other than Mitch Trubisky. I don't want to dominate the whole league and win it all, right? And then, who else is sitting there, right, in this league with these bench spots? We already have Ingram. Oh, Jordan Reed. He gets hurt every year for the Redskins, Marcus will tell you, but he's going to be their number 1 option after Doxson got released. So they have Terry McLaurin, rookies, and, Geis is going to pound the rock. But Jordan Reed, once he gets off this concussion thing, right, he's going to be the number 1 option for the Redskins. Very valuable. You're going to be able to use him. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if you're swapping every week between Ingram and Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed maybe not as good number-wise in the projected numbers and moving forward for the season, but once he starts getting 8, 9, 10 targets back to back to back, and if he can grab at least 7 or 8 balls, that's going to be just as good as Ingram. and maybe higher upside to score. I mean, we just kind of have to look at red zone once Haskins or whoever the hell the quarterback's going to be there, and then Ingram. Once Jones gets in, then you're going to get better results, right? Kicker, I wanted who? Justin Tucker, that's who you always want to target, or Greg the Leg, but he gets banged up. And then normally Gostkowski from the Patriots is usually the best kicker. Prior to the last couple years, he's dropped down a little, but to me, he's still top 3, top 4. I like Tucker, Greg the Leg from the Rams, Gostkowski. They're consistent. You don't want to wait too late to get a defense and a kicker. You want to make sure you get that somewhere between, I would say, 7th and 9th round, because if you wait too long, you're going to get screwed. Bears defense, you obviously want to grab them. Justin Tucker, those were the two pieces that I have in both of my teams. $1,200 team, and then obviously this one, on YouTube. And then defense, I told him, let's get the Bears. It was too late. One pick too late. Let's go Jacksonville. And then we have Dallas as a backup. So, I mean, if you look at the roster, Goff, Beckham, Godwin, Chubb, Aaron Jones, Ingram, Carson, Melvin Gordon, A.J. Green on the bench, Geis on the bench, Cousins and Reed on the bench. Gostkowski is the kicker, Jacksonville and Dallas D. To me, I think I did a pretty damn good job giving him balance. I gave him way more upside at the running back position than most people are ever see. I mean, think about that. You got Chubb, Aaron Jones, Carson, Melvin Gordon, and Geis. I mean, how can you lose with that roster? Unless people, like if Melvin Gordon doesn't play all year, I get it, right? If Geis gets injured, but you still end up having Chubb, Jones, and Carson. If you have those three, I mean, right there alone, regardless if your wide receivers are elite or not, or you're tight end, or you have a booty QB, I mean, you're going to compete. So that's big facts. So that just kind of gives you guys a preview of what I'm capable of. I can build a roster on a team, from anywhere. I can give you guys the information. I've got cash, right? I've got clothes. I've got multiple different things. I collect. I'm a big collector with magazines and cards and figures and McFarlane's. I mean, I've gotten things like that in return. So people donate and they give me money for a reason, because it's not only about drafting your team, it's about maintaining your team. You got to make changes every single week if you want to win. You got to be able to do whatever it takes. Like you see me with the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Omer Muich, what it do? Didn't even see the donation in there, because I'm just letting everyone know how it goes with the fantasy. But how you see me with the preparation, right? And all the due diligence I do for all the tape and the videos, I do the same thing on fantasy, if not more. So imagine someone reading on fantasy, like 3, 4, 5 hours a day. That's me. I'm always on the app back and forth, looking at the roster, looking how I can make it better, looking to see who's on the wire, looking to see if someone I can replace to make it a better squad. You got to be able to do that. This one squad, this $1,200 squad is crazy. They have a $100 limit for the wire, right? So you paid $150 to get in. You win $1,200 if you get first, right? But out of this $100 that you have in this virtual money in the league, you have to bid for a free agent. So let's say for example, Tyler Boyd, let's say he's already picked up on a lot of teams, starting in a lot, right? Let's say Tyler Boyd's on the wire, right? And I bet $10, out of my 100. And then if someone bids 11, then that's $11 away from that 100 for the whole season. So if you bid too much, right, for too many guys, you might only be able to get a couple wire pieces, right, in the whole season, depending on how much you bid and how bad that other person in that league, those other 11 want this fire player, right? So, and there's only 4 bench spots. I've never been in the league that only has 4. So if you think about that, right, you can't pick a backup defense. You can't pick up a backup kicker. You can't pick up a backup QB. It's literally the 4 bench spots are running back, or running back, wide receiver, or running back, wide receiver, tight end. And that's it. I mean, because you got to have some kind of depth there. Otherwise, if you go quarterback, and 3 bench spots, you're going to lose, because you need more depth for your guys if they get hurt, right? So it really makes you pick your brain, and you got to go deeper, in the league more than I've ever seen in other leagues, because like I said, not many leagues that I've ever seen have 4 bench spots. It's normally 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever it is. I think it's 9. And then you have 9, you have 9 in the game, and then maybe 7. I think it's 16 total. So, I mean, so 3 less or 4 less is huge. It definitely changes the draft strategy. And then when I drafted in the league, they all, tried to make fun, and stuff. Because normally Mahomes, you want to pick late, but he's going to be the first guy off the board. And normally they tell you in fantasy, hey, dummy, you need to pick running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, kicker, boom, 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 boom. And then you pick a QB, and then you'll just magically end up with Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or Big Ben, and then you have a complement of running backs and wide receivers and backups, and then you get this magical piece there, right, at the end. Sometimes it doesn't fall like that. Sometimes quarterbacks go, and think about it. If you only have 4 bench spots, certain positions are worth more. So when I had the first pick, right, and picked Saquon, right, and some people were hating, I don't know why, right, and then after Saquon, I went Aaron Jones, but I had back-to-back picks the rest of the way through, and then I picked Patrick Mahomes third. So it would have been like the 24th and 25th pick, because I looked from 25 all the way to 50 on talent level, and I didn't even draft again until like 45, 46 or something of that nature, right? So if you're drafting like that, you can double up on the spots. It's in the most unique position in fantasy I've ever been in, because I not only got the best player in Saquon, but I was able to double up all the way down and not have to worry about competing with someone else for the pick. But picking Mahomes third with like the 25th pick, right, which was a second-round pick, people laughed. They said, you dumbass, this and that. Well, I ended up having the best grade in the draft. I'm supposedly going to go 12-1, not lose any games besides maybe one, and I'm projected to win almost every game. And then with the roster, just to kind of break it down, and I'll get into your guys' stuff here as well, so you guys can kind of understand. So Saquon Barkley 1, okay? 24, Aaron Jones. 25, Patrick Mahomes, because I knew the value of Mahomes. I think he's going to win MVP, and they're going to make the Super Bowl this year. So why wouldn't I try to grab a guy then? Because if I didn't grab him then, someone between 26 and 50 would have grabbed him, right? Saquon and Mahomes, are you kidding me? And Aaron Jones, fucking game over. Then I went Tyler Boyd, because A.J. Green is hurt. That gives me a guy like Godwin that's going to break out, lots of targets. He had a shitload last year. He's going to dominate. Avoid the Boyd, right? So I'm getting that solidification of Saquon, Aaron Jones. My running backs are done. Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback. Tyler Boyd, a top 10 fantasy wide receiver, I believe, when it's all said and done, or he'll be very close. Then O.J. Howard, 4th best tight end. Darius Geis at the flex. So now you got Saquon, Aaron Jones, Darius Geis at your running backs, Mahomes at QB, O.J. Howard, and Tyler Boyd. It's looking nice. And then a sleeper, D.D. Westbrook. He's one of the best players in the NFL that no one knows who he is. Nick Foles' number 1 option. He's going to get shitloads of targets. I'm just stacking the talent up, right? And then after that, Michael Gallup, right? 2nd option for Amari Cooper. That's going to be one of the favorite targets I feel this season. He's going to go from his 2 touchdowns last year, somewhere between 6 to 8, I believe, maybe with upside of 9 or 10, just depending on how Dak plays and where he goes with the football. But it's a sleeper pick for a bench spot. Chicago D, the number 1 D in the league. Peyton Barber as a starter was sitting there in round 10. Of course, I'm going to grab him because I need depth, at least one guy on the bench, right? Best kicker in the league, in my opinion, Justin Tucker, right? Then I drafted TJ Hawkinson for upside, even though Jesse James is ahead of him. And then Adrian Peterson for the sole purpose of backing up Geis, because that's one of the guys that might get hurt, and then at least you have the backup. And then before the league started, right, within the main games, you have an opportunity to be able to, switch things around and see what you can do, okay? And then to make the team better and not put up the money, right? Hawkinson dropped, Jordan Reed in, all right? Adrian Peterson out, Tyrell Williams in. And that was based off Antonio Brown, right? $2,000, $3,000 roster. Patrick Mahomes, Tyler Boyd, D.D. Westbrook. Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, O.J. Howard, Geis at the flex, Tucker at kicker, Chicago D. Bench, Michael Gallup, right? 8 or 9 points a game projected. Tyrell Williams, 8 or 9 points projected each week, right? So 2 backup wide receivers that are number 2s, that are solid, that should have great years, right? Jordan Reed to back up, O.J. Howard. And then Peyton Barber, just because he was sitting there so late, that at least gives me someone to swap with Geis. And then you got, obviously, Saquon and Aaron Jones. I mean, the proof's in the pudding right there. Obviously, that shows you, certain people know how to draft, and you can do it, and other people, it just depends. So, a little bit of the bubbly, Hunter Canterbury says. Gurley all day. I'm excited to see Gurley, and I just looked ahead, Bradley, to see, what was going to be available for my local games. The first game that's on for me, right, is going to be Rams and the Panthers. So I'm gonna go live and do a live play-by-play and reaction for that game. After that, they have the Seahawks and the Bengals on CBS, but after on the same time window at 1, it's the Giants and the Cowboys. So I'll probably do that one, even though I'm here in the Northwest. That's, Seattle is going to run up Cincinnati, right? I might be able to flip back and forth a little, but I kind of want to be able to see Zeke versus Saquon. I'll do that. Then Marcus will come over in the evening, and then we'll do Steelers and Patriots. So I plan on doing 3 full games, 9 hours, play-by-play and reaction. So come in the room and hang out with your boy. I'll definitely do that. Yeah, AB playing is crazy. I said, Dalton says, I'm feeling pretty good about the Lions right now, seeing how last night's game went. Well, with the Lions, as we know, you know that I do my research and I know what I'm talking about, and I give credit where credit's due, and I'm honest. I'm not going to, everyone is not going to agree with me, but the Lions are one of those teams that's like little brother looking up to big brother, but if big brother isn't protecting his jaw, little brother's going to come up and, uppercut that, like Mortal Kombat style. And every 3 to 4 years, the Lions kind of make some noise. I mean, they had the Barry Sanders era. Then they obviously had the Megatron era, right? The front four on the defense is solid. Defense is going to be a little bit better than people think. And then it just really depends on the running game of Kerryon Johnson. It's going to depend on, Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay, the development of, Hawkinson and what he does with Jesse James. If they do double tight end set, the O-line has to play better. Stafford has to be there. You know what I mean? I don't see them going to the playoffs kind of like the Bucs. You have upside, but you don't really know how much is going to come out of it. You know what I mean? But I mean, there's something there, and thus obviously with the Bears playing like they are, they don't look like they're going to be a contender for the division. Yeah, it's one game, but I mean, it definitely gives an edge to the Packers and probably the Vikings, and then we just got to kind of wait and see with the Lions. But I love underdog stories, you know what I mean? That's big facts. Princess Gamer, what it do? How are you? A lot of conversations in here, so I'm just going to scroll up just a little bit, acknowledge everyone. Princess Gamer, what it do? No, this is for my flex, and I'm being serious. Eckler or Zeke? Of course Zeke. Why? You're against the Giants defense? Come on, Pierpont. You're hilarious. Mitch about as useful as a bowl of sucked-on milk duds. Tell him, Calvin. I wasn't going to do the video, but you know what? I figured there would be, kind of just to lighten up the mood of how shitty the game was. Right now I'm watching Boise State and Marshall. I don't know if you guys, because obviously I'm watching football 24/7. The blue field, Boise State number 24-14, Marshall 7. But to get back to my story, Mitchell Trubisky, the GOAT. I thought people would have fun with that. Put a little smile on people's faces, for Friday. Yeah, I mean, Eckler's going to get a lot of opportunities. He definitely breaks tackles, one of the best in the whole NFL. He's a yak guy, He just knows how to get the extra yards, bounce off guys. There's not that big of a drop-off, I think, numbers-wise and production-wise from Melvin Gordon to Eckler. It just depends on Eckler's. I mean, how many opportunities are you going to give him? If you're going to give him similar opportunities than you were going to give like Melvin Gordon. Of course, Melvin Gordon's better. He's like top 7 running back, right? But Eckler can give you 100 yards. I mean, he can get you a touchdown here and there. But, I mean, Chargers and who they're going against, you know what I mean? Or with Zeke and the Giants D going to be a little thin? I mean, that's up to you, bro. Obviously that's a no-brainer. Zeke is a number 1. Zeke's the best running back in football besides Saquon. And Alvin Kamara is my favorite running back, in the league. Run CMC's getting close, and then we got to see what Gurley and Le'Veon do from the past, if they can rebirth themselves, get reborn again, and then we can kind of see, what's good. But there's a particular process on how you draft, how you pick up guys on the waiver wire, what you do, when you do it, how long you keep a guy, how long, when you drop them. There's everything. Damon P. Aqua Dio, what it do? King Ditto, what it do? So Michael Pierpont, with a donation like that, I can help you, bro. Whatever you need. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Well, Damon, I'm sorry that you're going through some stuff personal. Hey, I can relate, man. I'm going through a lot of stuff from time to time, but coming here and hanging out, we can talk Eagles, we can talk NFL, fantasy football, AB. I'm here, man. I'm real. I'm a real one. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people out there that are fake and they're not real, and it's like I'm one of the boys. You guys can watch football and we watch it together, and it's one of those things. But I got you, man. Could have saved $30 million, Calvin Griffin says. Yeah, but the thing is like, I don't know how you guys rate wide receivers, but to me it's DeAndre Hopkins 1. Michael Thomas within these last few years has really emerged to me. I put him at 2, and then I would have AB at 3 and probably Julio at 4. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't really replace an AB. He's got drama attached. But, you're going to get – supposedly last year was his worst year, with everything statistically, supposedly. And he ended up leading the league in touchdowns with 15, even though it didn't seem like it, So Carr is no Roethlisberger. That's big facts. But, this guy is – why do you think John Gruden's going to cave like that? Because if you really want to be able to win games, you're going to have AB in the lineup, either as a distraction, like a decoy type of player, going deep and spreading the field out for the rest of the other guys like Tyrell Williams, or, right, you're going to have to just throw him the rock as much as possible if you can and see what he can do with the frostbitten feet and all the other drama, There's always drama with wide receivers, Ed. You know how it goes. T.O., remember that? That drama in San Francisco and Dallas and Philly, right? Randy Moss had a few of incidents as well, even though I like Randy a lot more than T.O. But Randy says he likes doing Randy things and, decided when he wanted to play, So, you usually don't hear comments like that. That definitely rubs people, the wrong way. And it, obviously it took a while T.O. to get in, and they used his personal agenda and off-the-field issues prevented him from getting in first ballot, So Lunar says, do you think Mike Evans will play? I hope so. I know he's going through illness right now. He's the best wide receiver, arguably the best player on the whole roster, besides Levante David, Sue, Devin White coming in. Godwin's got a lot of potential, and so does O.J. Howard. But, most people would probably agree that even with Sue, he's a little older. Levante David's been solid, but Mike Evans, is the best player on the team. It definitely isn't Jameis. But I would assume, you're at home, lots of pressure. The Niners have a great chance to win the game. I don't know what team is going to come out for Tampa, if they're going to come out there and play great, or if they're going to, implode in the second half like they normally do. But yeah, I'm thinking if I had to lean, if Mike Evans, today's Friday, so if he's still under the weather by Sunday, morning, afternoon when the game is, he should be good. I can't see him missing the first game. One of the most important players on the, not only in fantasy terms, but Tampa Bay fans and, the Tampa Bay organization. So, Pierpont, I went 3 running backs in the first 3 rounds in the league. And see, the thing is I used to have that type of mindset, but that usually fucks you because the thing is that when you need to go wide receiver now, right, you got the running backs, but what happens if 2 of those guys get hurt? Right? Or what if one of them, the bell cow, gets hurt? You're getting running back 1, running back 2, and flex. But the thing is, then you decrease the value on the player that you're going to get in the 4th and 5th round at wide receiver. If you would have went running back, wide receiver, running back, you could have maybe ended up with an Odell or an Adam Thielen, a top tier, guy, Juju Smith-Schuster. You don't have that opportunity when you go RB, RB, RB. And that's why you don't typically do that. That's, that's strategy. You want to be able to get, because imagine if you could get, let's say Aaron Jones, right, Juju, and then Carson. Instead of just going boom, 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 you'd feel a lot better looking at that lineup and seeing the stability in the lineup, top to bottom, because in fantasy, it's not about your starting lineup. It's also about your bench. Your bench should be almost like a second team, like the Golden State Warriors when they were in their prime. You want to be able to almost sub out your bench and put them in as starters, and there's not that much of a drop-off. There'll be a little bit, but if your wide receivers that are starting are averaging 11 and 10, you want your bench guys to have 9 and 9 or 8 and 9. You know what I mean? If your tight end is averaging 11, you want your backup to be around 7, 8. Are going to be like, damn, you're sitting at less talent than a Godwin or Boyd, and maybe you have a D.D. Westbrook on one spot, but then the other wide receiver, it might be someone that's not that great, and then you're just kind of looking at, and then you end up playing someone that has like Julio and another top tier wide receiver. Then you're like, shit, what do I do? And they can pop off. So, there's a different strategy on how to do it, Pierpont, and you'll experiment as you keep going further along. But there is definitely a method to the madness, and it depends on how many teams and how many bench spots, too. I went wide receiver, running back, and now I'm kind of screwed because my flex is a wide receiver. See, right there, Lunar, and that's how it goes. The last thing that you want in fantasy football for newbies or people that have played a long, long time, yeah, Umar says, I was half drunk during our draft. Nonetheless, I believe I'll have a better record than the Bucks. Well, most people have a better record than the Bucks. But yeah. But with that, that strategy, Lunar, you know what I mean? That puts you at a spot. Not only is it risky because you're not getting that top-tier talent at running back, and typically in the running back position in fantasy, you want that to be the strongest that you have, and then you want to make sure you have a good flex, but don't want your wide receivers to be so far off of that if possible. It just depends on the heavy running back and then slightly less wide receiver, or heavy wide receiver, but your flex back at running back is amazing. So you got to have that balance. Otherwise, because if you end up playing a wide receiver at flex, I would say 8 out of 10 times you lose, unless that guy is amazing. You know what I mean? It just depends on who you have at the roster. I'll read you off. So I got my team here. I got Mahomes, Tyler Boyd, D.D. Westbrook, right? Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, Geis. So my running backs are solid. Barkley, Jones, Geis at the flex, and if he dominates, O.J. Howard, 4th best tight end, right? And then got Mahomes. No, you know what that is. Boyd and Westbrook are better than people think, right? But you don't want to be able to. I have Michael Gallup and Tyrell Williams on my bench. If you had Michael Gallup or Tyrell Williams, they could score and they could do something. Or even if you put a tight end at the flex, Jordan Reed, if he was going to play with O.J. Howard, that's one thing you don't want to typically do. You don't want to double up at tight end unless you are. If you have Travis Kelce and O.J. Howard or something crazy like that, then you can double up. But normally, you want to make sure you have a running back at your flex that gives you the most opportunity, as long as that back doesn't get shut out. Wide receiver only can catch the ball. Running backs run, get the yards, regardless if it's PPR or standard. And if he's good, he'll get some looks and he'll get some, some grabs out of the backfield too, and that doubles up your point chances, right? Because if you have Gallup in a flex or Tyrell, that's not going to be as good for you, moving forward, right? Think about this. Mahomes, Boyd, Westbrook, Barkley, Jones, O.J. Howard, and Gallup? It's okay. It's pretty good, right? Or O.J. Howard and Tyrell Williams. You don't want to have a number 2 wide receiver at your flex. You're gonna get killed. They could score, but their number 2 wide receiver, they're gonna be inconsistent from times. Sometimes they'll be the hot guy because the one is getting safeties over the top, or he might get shut out. You might get one grab with Gallup for 9 yards, or maybe 4 for 30, right? Or maybe Tyrell Williams gets 5 for 50. But then if you have Geis at the flex, he might score a touchdown and give you 13. You know what I mean? So there's a balance to it. You know what I mean? So, but Lunar, the thing is you can always move pieces around and look on the wire to make your team better, and then see maybe if one of the stars gets injured, that backup running back. Sometimes it's nice to have those because it's a second man up. Let's say Le'Veon, which we have, right? If he goes down, Ty Montgomery's next man up. You got Duke Johnson, right? Carlos Hyde, next man up. There's always going to be a next man up, Chubb gets hurt, Kareem Hunt, next man up. And those stats can definitely, inflate your team, but sometimes it's a gamble and you don't know. I got Robert Woods, T.Y. Hill, and Allen Robinson in the league, though. Yeah, see, the thing is, though, is if you want to have T.Y. as your 1, but Robert Woods and T.Y. are almost 2s, and then Allen Robinson's a 3. You know what I mean? As far as a flex position, Robert Woods and T.Y. are wide receiver 2-2, 2A, 2B. You know what I mean? So if Woods gets shut out and has three receptions for 40, you're fucked. If T.Y. doesn't get in the end zone, and you're probably not playing Allen Robinson, but then what happens if T.Y. has a bye? Woods and Allen Robinson, with Mitch at quarterback, and, do you feel confident with that? Your running backs can be better, but, that's kind of how it goes. You don't want to put yourself in a liability there. 2K day, Xbox servers have been down for 6 hours. Uh-oh. I know, that came out last night. That was crazy. Omer, it's all right if you're half drunk, man. You know what I mean? I seen you on the wire trying to better your team after you got sober, and we're like, whoa, what did I do? I picked way too many Panthers. But that's all right, man. My partner in crime, DTD Productions. He, I believe, went to his girlfriend's grandma's. I think there was a funeral of some type. So just being moral support for his girlfriend. And, so obviously if I'm grinding and I'm doing videos and, most of the time, I don't believe it's going to be necessarily by choice that he doesn't want to be here. He'll try to be here as much as he can, but he's got his son's Pop Warner, first league playing in Pop Warner, 7th grade. So a lot of time he's going to be dedicated to be the good dad, be there and watch the football games and watch his son progress. Girlfriend with his issues and then other personal stuff. It happens. You know what I mean? But I can definitely hold it down, and he'll be here on Sunday to do Pittsburgh and the Patriots. I'll be doing probably a couple of games solo before that, but that's it. I'm hoping the best for him. Hopefully everything's okay over there. Let's see, if Mac breaks out, I think that you can really win the YouTube league. If he doesn't, then I might lose every game. Yeah, Marlon Mack is going to be good. If I had to put a money on it, if he scores this weekend, I bet you he does. He has upside to score up to 2 times. But, you know what I mean? You need more than just a couple guys. In fantasy football, if you have 9 spots, you need 8 to hit. If you don't have at least 8 hit out of your 9 or 7 out of 9 hit, you're fucked most of the times because the other teams are pretty good. I mean, if you notice, if you're playing in a league that's $1,200 money league, $500, $25 or $50 buy-in or whatever it is, if it's for money, usually a lot more competition. There's a lot more competitiveness, but even with like our YouTube league, there's just still going to be winners, prizes. I'll be throwing out some merch, some of our hoodies and t-shirts for prizes, and then maybe, who knows, maybe a little cash prize, a little Venmo or something like that too. I don't mind, or maybe a team t-shirt, or a jersey or something. I mean, it just depends, on what's going on and what we're doing. Sister's baby shower. It's a girl, by the way. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Lenny D. What'd it do? Sherman. I hope you're still in here. Julio or Mike Evans? Now, if you have both of those guys on your roster, wow. I mean, talk about, stacking up the running back position when I got Saquon and Aaron Jones and I got Geis. If you could get Julio or Mike Evans, or you have both, or you just have one and you're just kind of, deciding where to go, then you got to go, okay, if you're going to base off name recognition, who's better? Julio, right? But now you got to break it down and see if you're playing at home or on the road, who your quarterback is, right? And what the situation is for targets for each guy. I mean, there's a lot of questions that I go into it. Most people, 9 out of 10, if they saw that, right, they say Julio, right? And Julio does get a lot of targets, gets the yards, but one thing that he lacks on is what? The touchdowns. So that's got to be in your decision as well. So let's look. So the Buccaneers play at home against the Niners with inconsistent Jameis Winston, but with new coaching, he might be better. But his accuracy down past 20 yards is like one of the worst in the NFL. But he loves Evans. But with this new coaching staff, will they go Godwin a little more? He'll break out, right? D-Jax is gone, more looks, right? O.J. Howard will get looks. Brait will get looks. But as long as he has a chance to get the targets, 8 targets, Evans is going to catch 6 or 7. Can he get in the end zone against the Niners? You better believe it. And then let's take a look at the Falcons. The Falcons are on the road, right, at the Vikings. Tough defense, top 5 defense in the league. Julio is a top 4, top 3 wide receiver in the league. So you can go Xavier Rhodes. It won't really matter. Julio can get his. Matt Ryan is an amazing quarterback. I believe he's a Hall of Famer. You can trust Matt Ryan more than Jameis, duh. You know what I mean? I think Matt Ryan is one of the most criticized, undervalued, underappreciated quarterbacks that I would put him in the Hall of Fame even if his career ended today. You know what I mean? And a lot of people would be like, whoa, you know what I mean? But I really respect Matt Ryan. He's the closest thing when he was coming out of college to Peyton Manning. That general, they had the choke fest with the 28-3, I get it. But the Patriots are the Patriots, and they got gassed out. But I have mad respect for Kyle Shanahan, what he's going to do with the Niners, and then obviously with Matt Ryan. So you're in a predicament. Better quarterback, but on the road against a tough, defender like an Xavier Rhodes. But no matter who's guarding him, Julio's going to get his, right? Mike Evans going against a secondary that's a little bit banged up, at home with better opportunities, right? So it's really a toss-up because what would probably happen is what? Mike Evans would get 9 attempts, 7 grabs. Let's say he gets a touchdown, right? So he's at like maybe 12 or 13. But Julio doesn't have to score. He could have 10 receptions for, 130 yards and not get in and get the same amount of points. So you might not score, with Julio, but you could probably get similar points as Mike Evans unless Mike Evans goes in. It also depends on Mike Evans and his health. You got to go all factors. He's under the weather right now. Will he be 100%? If he's not feeling 100%, then definitely Julio Jones. But if he seems like he is 100% out there, even though Mike Evans would be this probably more logical pick, you know what I mean, to go there because of the Niners and he's at home, better chance to score. But it's kind of a push in all reality because Julio's one of those guys, he always gets more receptions and more yards than almost any receiver year to year. So he can get more first downs to make up for those 6 points that you would get with the touchdown. So that, to me, that's kind of a push. But I mean, if I had one or the other, I'd probably still go Julio. I mean, because you just know he's going to get the targets, right? Mike Evans is great too, but Julio's top 3, top 4. Evans is somewhere between 5 through 9 as far as receivers in the league, in my opinion, and he's my player. So obviously I'm not a homer, you know what I mean? But that's one of the most similar, scenarios, for Julio or Evans. But, I mean, if you got Julio, you probably drafted him 1. If you have Mike Evans, you probably drafted him 2, second round, unless he was just, sitting there and you picked 12th and he was the best thing available for you. You know what I mean? But it's kind of hard to just not, go Julio in that case. So, because if he gets 120 and scores once or twice, then you're definitely stacking your chips, Julio almost by default all the time, and even though that defense is tougher, some guys are unguardable. I feel like AB's unguardable. I feel like Julio, and the most times unguardable, Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins. You could put any fucking corner there. But the best corner right now is Stephon Gilmore, and you could put him on those receivers, and those receivers will still be able to beast out. It's not like they're going to get shut down completely. To me, if you're an elite top 4 receiver in the league, even if you have the best corner on you, you're still going to produce. I mean, you might get 5 receptions for 60 yards, but other guys in that position would have gotten 1 grab for 5 or none. So that shows you kind of the depth that I feel that the wide receivers are in. Anti, what'd it do? I got Hopkins as the other wide receiver. Whoa, what kind of league are you in? Did you go wide receiver, Sherman? Holy shit. Well, obviously Hopkins is your starter, right? And that even though he's going to be, on the road against the New Orleans Saints, that's DeAndre Hopkins, number 1 guy, the best wide receiver. So obviously you go Hopkins and Julio. Evans might outscore Julio in points if he scores a touchdown, but if Evans has 14 and Julio gives you 12, you're not going to lose your league, this week because of that 2 points that maybe Mike Evans get a little bit more. Maybe 80 yards in a TD or 60 in a TD with Evans, but maybe over 100 yards receiving. And even if you don't score, it shouldn't be that big of a difference. But Julio gives you better upside with the yards and the TD, and you already have DeAndre Hopkins, unless you're putting Evans at your flex. But I don't think I've ever seen a team with Hopkins, Julio, and Mike Evans. I mean, you must have went wide receiver or something. That's crazy. Crazy. So who's your RBs? Corey Wim says Chubb. Yeah, I love Chubb. Chubb's great. You got Carson and McCaffrey. Well, no way. Sherman, no way. There's no way you can have all that top-tier talent. He's like, I'm in a league of 1 of 1. It's just me. Damn. Yeah, obviously McCaffrey, unless you got Mike Evans later, which it sounds like. If you had that type of drafting platform, you had DeAndre Hopkins probably 1. And then, or probably McCaffrey. Well, yeah, McCaffrey probably 1. I mean, if this is a real team, and it's not just a 1 of 1. McCaffrey 1, and then DeAndre Hopkins, if somehow by some way he was still sitting there, and then Julio, and then Mike Evans, if that's where you went. And then after that, Carson, or something of that nature, but I imagine I'm decently right. Yeah, Mike Evans in the flex. Flex is Fournette. See, I don't like Fournette. The thing is, I wouldn't pick Fournette at the flex. And I don't know if you have all these guys, but if this is a real team, yeah, that 16 league. Okay, because I was about to say, most teams are 10 to 12. So I've never really seen too many that are 6. That explains a lot, because there's no way you're going to have those type of guys all on the same team. So to be honest, if you have Fournette at the flex, right, obviously I would be starting McCaffrey 1 and Carson as my 2 over Fournette. But in your case, right, if you have Julio and you have Hopkins, I would start Evans over Fournette. Normally I would say no, right? But I don't really believe in Fournette that much. I mean, I feel he's kind of injury prone. He's not the same running back as he was before. Yes, he can run and he can catch. But, I mean, I feel that with Mike Evans, I mean, you're going to get probably similar production number-wise. But, I mean, normally it's smart to go running back. But with that many 6-man league, with all that stacked wide receivers, I mean, you could score with Evans once or twice, right? DeAndre Hopkins once or twice, Julio once or twice, right? Carson once or twice, and McCaffrey once or twice. So, I mean, if Fournette scores once, I mean, does it really matter? You know what I mean? But, I mean, that's crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a 6-man team. Evans or Jones? Well, well, if you're going to go that route, Julio Jones. Take Julio. I mean, but it's a harder matchup, and normally, that you don't want to go against the grain. Evans, home, matchup, even though the quarterback's shittier, easier matchup at corner, you know what I mean? Home field, comfortable, but then you got someone that's a top 3 guy, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas, right, AB, Julio. They can do it anywhere, home or away. So that's the wild card. That's the only 4 guys that you would probably want to play on the road against tough opponents, depending on who you had as the other option, But, I mean, that's up to you. You know what I mean? But, yeah, Evans is sick, might not play. Yeah, but I'd go Julio there. But, I would consider I mean, you can keep Fournette in there, and he could score twice. He could go off. It's possible. They don't have a whole lot of weapons at wide receiver. D.D. Westbrook, So, I mean, you're not losing a whole lot there, but I can see where you're coming from. I mean, 6-man league, that's just still got me kind of tongue-tied now. But Gallup or Henderson in the flex? Ooh, well, we don't know how many carries, Lunar, that Gurley's going to get and how many opportunities Henderson is going to get. So that's a big wild card. Like, is Gurley going to get 10 to 15 and Henderson's going to get like 5, or is he going to get closer to 10? And then how many pass attempts are you going to get? Are you going to get 5 or are you going to get 2? So I don't know. And then Gallup is a up-and-coming wide receiver like Godwin, and Tyler Boyd except Tyler Boyd and Godwin are Tyler Boyd's a number 1 right now because A.J. Green's out, right? And Godwin is a number 2, but he can play like a 1. And Gallup is going to be a guy that, I feel that has some upside there. So, I mean, if Henderson was going to get a shitload of carries, then I would go Henderson, but I would probably lean more towards Gallup in the flex, just because I think he's going to get more targets, more opportunities, and I think he could score against the Giants at home. I have a feeling that he might have better stats than Cooper this year. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Witten's there. You got Zeke, and he'll get a lot of looks. But they're going to be, like, covering Cooper. Maybe safeties over the top, make it harder. And Gallup can improve his game, and I could see him benefiting, this season. But that's where I would go. I would go Gallup. So I have Gallup on that $1,200 team as a backup, because I believed in him. I drafted him, because he was sitting there. Colts Chargers are 4 p.m. Eastern. Is that you think Gallup? I was also thinking that, but I also have AP, Robbie Anderson, McLaurin. No, I wouldn't put any of those there. Yeah, not AP. Robbie Anderson is very up and down. He could give you a touchdown and get you like 90 yards, and you're like, yes, but then the next game he can give you like 2 receptions and like 12. He's a very frustrating player. McLaurin, you don't know what kind of reps. AP is the backup to Geis, right? Robbie Anderson's the only option that you could put over Gallup because he's probably going to be their number 1. I mean, they got Jamison Crowder, there too now. So, I mean, they got to go somewhere. They're going to go Le'Veon heavy and whatnot, you know what I mean? So that you could go Gallup or Robbie Anderson. I mean, Robbie Anderson, when he goes off, he goes off. Sometimes he scores once or twice and can give you like a 15-point game, and Gallup could do the same thing. It just depends on preference. You know what I mean? That's why you got to be able to look on the wire too, and you got to judge a lot of things. And sometimes it's tough when it's the beginning of the season when you haven't had anything to compare it to. What the coaches are going to do. Gurley isn't limited. Henderson probably getting 10 to 15 snaps. That's what they say, but I need to see it. Once they're out there in warm-ups and actually have them do it. Ed Brennan, appreciate you. Yeah, if you want content. If you want the glitz and the glamour, you can, get that. But if you want content, and that's what YouTube's about, you're going to get it here. You know what I'm saying? You know that, too. You're going to get the energy, the passion, and the content, original content, the grind. No one works harder than me, period. A lot of you guys know that, too. Boise State is my team, surprising people. Yeah. Well, they're still, they're top 25 team. But Andy Avalos, the Ducks picked him up for the DC, so that was, thank you for that. I needed to get my team a little bit better on the defensive side. Evans is my wide receiver number 2, so I don't know if I should start him. He doesn't play. My team is screwed. Yeah, I would keep Evans in there. I think he'll play. Trust me. I think if I had to bet, money on it, 9 out of 10 he plays. This is the first game. A flu or he's out? Absolutely. You should probably start Godwin right now if you actually have him. Who do you have? With Evans. Like, who are your wide receivers and who's at your flex? Smitty. And I can tell you because the thing is, Godwin and D.D. Westbrook are amazing. I have them in both of my leagues, because Godwin's going to break out as a 2, but Westbrook is going to be the number 1 option. And the thing about him is that he's got the connection with Nick Foles. You know what I mean? So a big upside with him. So, yeah, absolutely. If Evans is your 1, and I don't know who you have at the other spot, you can literally go either one, Godwin or Westbrook, and I believe in both of them. 10 points or more, right, in standard leagues or PPR, with the other leagues. But, Godwin can get, 70, 80 yards, plus a touchdown. DD could do the same. They have upside to both get 2. Same thing with Evans. But Godwin, to me, I could start him as a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, depending on who you already have at running back if it's really heavy and you had to go that route. Sometimes a Tyler Boyd and Godwin, that's a great combo. Godwin and Westbrook, that's a great combo. A lot of people see that. That's not good as Julio or Odell, but it kind of is. Because the thing is there's a lot more upside for guys that people don't research. It depends on targets. And, obviously how many grabs they're getting out of those targets and what they do with them, as we know. It's all about name recognition. It's about the results that you get. And you got to not get blinded by the names. It's hard to sometimes in fantasy. That's where people fuck up. They get blinded by the name, but then you can get something that's better that's maybe lower. And you just got to do your, research and don't be biased, just like how we do it on the channel here, Read off my team and tell me who to start. Pierpont, $4.99. I definitely will. Thank you for the donation. I just got caught up. All right, Pierpont, you want me to do your team, Big Dog? AB, do you want to be a Raider? He's like, do you want me to be a Raider? All right, let me see. All right, let me go here. 1 second, Pierpont, since this is the fantasy show. You tell me your lineup. You write it down. You tell me. I'll tell you who to start. And like I said, I give you the picks that I would pick for myself. So, I mean, if someone's in a $1,000 money league or $1,200, you can know that I'm not going to screw anyone. If anything, I feel I have better results getting people in the top 3 with all my friends and family and people on the channel. I mean, if you listen to me and don't get at least top 3, something happened. Like something really fucking bad happened, like injuries and something that, you can't control. So let's take a quick look at your team here, big guy. I'm just on the app now. All right, where are you at? Philly Fanatics. All right. Kyler Murray, Michael Pierpont. See, that's where you kind of fucked up there from the start. Kyler, you put yourself at a big, big risk. And there's upside there, but, I mean, it's all how you drafted your team, and I know you have depth in other spots, but gamble, especially with the rookie, you know what I mean? But obviously Kyler Murray is starting. Let me see who you have. So, you have Trubisky. You should have started Trubisky, Philly Fanatics, Michael Pierpont. Then you had the greatest of all time. You have him on your bench. You should have started him. You would have definitely won your matchup. Kyler Murray, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Robert Woods, T.Y. Hilton, Njoku, Eckler, Jags D, Jake Elliott. Not bad. It's not a bad team, but it's not a great team. And I'm going to be very honest. Kyler Murray is going to be up and down, right? Joe Mixon is amazing, right? Amazing. Top 6, top 7, top 8 talent at running back. But he gets banged up a lot. So that's going to, you're only going to be able to have him for maybe half the season. Dalvin Cook, a nice quality running back, but gets banged up a little bit. So you got to pray that those guys stay healthy to kind of be the workhorses on your roster, right? Robert Woods, underrated, but he can get a lot of targets there. But you also have Kupp, and Brandon Cooks. So, it's a lot of pieces. Higbee, and then Henderson and Gurley. You got a lot to work with there. But Robert Woods isn't too bad. But having him as your number 1, you know what I mean? Obviously, he went running back heavy, but that might bite you if he has an off game and Kupp gets all the touchdowns or Cooks. T.Y. Hilton, that's still solid, even though he's an older player. He's going to be the number 1 option with Ebron, right? Njoku, I feel Njoku's stats are going to go down this year because with all the other weapons that are coming around, Baker's going to take off, Chubb's going to take off, right? Odell is going to have a good one, but I think Jarvis Landry and Njoku are guys that are going to scale back a little bit, less opportunities for them. I would actually try to find you a better tight end than Njoku or maybe see if there's your bench. I'll take a look and see if there's anyone there. Let's see here. Jags D against KC. No. Jags D is a top 2, top 3, but do you want to really go against Mahomes, and not get any points? I mean, I wouldn't do Jags D. I normally would do Jags D, but not against Kansas City or like the Rams or like, a high-powered offense. Elliott for Philly going against Washington. I don't mind that one, right? You got Zeke right now on your bench, so you need to put him in. And then you have Zeke, right? And then probably Zeke and Dalvin Cook, right, at home, right? And so you got Zeke and Dalvin Cook, and then you have Mixon at your flex, right, or Eckler. You would do it obviously like that. Allen Robinson obviously is, 7 receptions, 102 yards, but I mean it's hard to put a guy like that in. Singletary is a sleeper. I like him a lot. Kirk could be a guy that Kyler Murray has a connection with, but you don't really know. Valdez-Scantling had a 9. Trubisky, and then you got Madison. So, I mean, the bench is okay. You can improve it a little bit more. But obviously, if it's me, you're going Kyler, Zeke, right? And then at that point, Joe Mixon as your RB2, Dalvin Cook is your flex. And then you got Woods and Hilton. And then, let's see, do you have a backup tight end? You don't. So what I would do if I were you is I would get a different tight end than Njoku, maybe get a backup. So Madison that you have, drop him, right, and get another tight end. Because the thing is, if you only have Njoku, what happens if he gets one reception for 4 yards and you're really close in the game with all your running backs and everything that's going on? You're fucked. You know what I mean? You don't want to have that as your number one and no backup to Njoku. That's an important position. It's your weakest position in your starting lineup. You don't want just one of your weakest position in fantasy football, or you're fucked unless someone comes up. You know what I mean? You always want 2 tight ends no matter what league you're in. 6-man, 8-man, 12-man, 20-man. You always want another tight end. Even if you have Kelsey, you want to make sure you have someone, that's solid there. Like for me, normally it's like an Ebron or O.J. Howard, or it's like, let's say O.J. Howard and then Jordan Reed. So it's a little bit of a drop-off, but the guy can have a lot of targets and have potential, And then right now I'm looking at your team right now, another bugaboo, right? You only have one defense. You only have Jags D. Normally, if you're in a 12-man league, pick 2 defenses. Don't pick one. Because if you only have one and you're streaming the other, you might have been able to get a really solid one that was just sitting there still. Maybe like a Bills or a Broncos or, one of the Houston. Someone else. You don't want to be stuck with Jags even though they're a top 2 defense in the league or top 3. But they play the fucking Chiefs and you're just going to sit there? No, you don't sit there. You make moves. You make changes, right? You put the Jags D on the bench. You keep him. You drop Madison because he's not worthy of having a spot right now. Or Trubisky because he's bootios. But, you want to keep Trubisky, do your thing. Madison you drop. You pick up another defense, right? And then you also drop another piece. Probably drop Christian Kirk or Scantling. One of those 2. You drop one of them, right? Probably Valdez Scantling. Unless you feel that, Kirk is going to have opportunities with Larry Fitzgerald. But Kirk or Valdez Scantling, drop them and then get a different tight end. You know what I mean? You need to be able to get positions, 2 defenses, especially when you have Kyler Murray as your starter and Trubisky. You're not going to win the fucking league or get far with those 2. If you want to get someone better than Trubisky, I mean, he already played, so you can't do it now, but you can wait. But upgrading from Trubisky, I would do. Madison, get rid of. Scantling, get rid of. Kirk and Singletary and Robinson, and obviously you have Zeke on the bench. You keep him. But Singletary is a guy, if your running back position was thin, you could even put him at the flex, and he could score this weekend. He's a sleeper. You know what I mean? He's going to get a lot of playing time for Buffalo, even with the Jets' stingy defense. So if you go that route, your team is better. Boom. Njoku and someone else, maybe like a Greg Olsen or, some other type of, tight end that just got forgot about, or, just some other guy to give you options to go back and forth. So maybe a Njoku option when he gets hot with Baker is good, but if he ends up getting 1 reception or 2 and 10 yards, you lose your league sometimes because of 1 or 2 bad spots. And what are the spots that usually get fucked up the most, right? It's tight end if you don't have a top 4 one, right? If you don't have Travis Kelce or Ertz, right? Or Kittle or O.J. Howard or Ebron or Evan Ingram, you're fucked a lot of times because you're scrambling trying to get points there and you can't. You're fucked, right? And then sometimes kicker gets fucked up. Defense a lot of times, unless you're smart, right? And then running backs sometimes fail and wide receivers too. But yeah, Kyler Murray, and then like I said, you put in Zeke, right? Mixon at your Mixon at your number 2, and then you choose between Cook and Eckler at your flex. But I would go Cook, and then Eckler goes to the bench, better tight end, right? Better defense, and then your lineup looks better. And let me even see if you're projected to win. So on your matchup, you have 140, and then their team, Tiptoe on the Swag Wires, 143. With those tips that I just gave you, right, your money is well spent because I just helped you not only get another defense to get you more points to go against his Denver D, right? You're not dropping Jackson. Probably instead of 143 down to 140, maybe you're up 153 to 143 by just those 2 things. Right? And switching your lineup around a little bit more. Zeke is in, then your points go way up because obviously you have him on your bench. So you are the favored team, but then you can be really favored. Instead of 153 to 143, what about 160 to 143? Make him sweat it out a little bit and make him move his lineup around. He's got Rivers, Freeman, Fournette, Kupp, Emmanuel Sanders, Kittle, Breida at the flex, which is nice. He's starting now. Denver D and Will Lutz at kicker. Latavius Murray, Baker on the bench, Doyle, Kuti, Crosby, kicker, Paul Richardson, and Frank Gore. So the bench isn't great. I like Baker Mayfield there, you know what I mean? But he might be the only one that's really worth keeping on that team on the bench for Tiptoe on the Swag Wire, right? But Rivers, Freeman, right, on Atlanta, Fournette, Kupp, Sanders, Kittle, Breida, Denver D, Will Lutz. That sounds pretty good. If you don't get your fucking lineup right there, Pierpont, you know what I mean? You'll lose to that team. You know what I mean? The thing is Breida could score twice and get 80 yards in Tampa Bay, and that flex might kill you. You know, Denver D is playing Oakland. What if they score points with AB? Right? Will Lutz is going against Houston. What happens if they get all touchdowns and no field goal attempts for Lutz, and you get a 3 or a 4 instead of an 11? You might lose right there just because of that fact and the way they run the offense. Sanders on his team, right? Kupp, Fournette. I mean, Kyler Murray, Zeke, Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Robert Woods, T.Y., better tight end, Eckler on the bench, better defense than Jacksonville. And I would probably even try to get a better kicker than Elliott. I mean, if you really like Elliott, you know, going your team because you're a Philly guy and you want to keep a one piece of Philly or two because it's your team and you want to represent in fantasy, you better make sure it's the smart, right piece. Otherwise, your loyalty to your team is going to end up making you lose in your league sometimes because people go too heavy on that. You know what I mean? You got to really pick people from different teams so that way you don't have fucking 4 guys on the wire at week 10 and you lose automatically because you can't rebuild because you drafted too many fucking guys and didn't look at the bye week. That kills people in their rosters as well. So right there, that was worth at least $5 or $10, and you can use that method for the rest of the season. And I just taught you something, you know, moving forward with your team. Moving forward, you never get 2 kickers. You always have 2 to 3 defenses, if possible, depending on how many spots that you have, right? And you always have 2 tight ends, even if you have Travis Kelce, Ertz, right? Ebron, O.J. Howard, Kittle. Even if you have the top 3, you always want a backup, not for just the bye week, and you scramble in that bye week and there's nobody left there. But then sometimes you can get 2 top 10 tight ends, right? That's valuable because then when Kelce goes out, what if you would normally lose, but then all of a sudden you got a Jordan Reed as your backup and he gets 60 and scores. You stayed afloat with Kelce on the bench and you should have lost. You know what I mean? Instead of going really deep on the wire and, you know, getting someone that isn't going to get the touchdowns or the looks, you know? You have to strategize. And when I do fantasy, I always look the whole season ahead. Week 2, who am I playing? Who do they have? Week 3, who do they have? When is my bye week, right? Who do I need to drop on my team at that point? Who do I need to hang on to? How many running backs and wide receivers do I need on my bench when those guys go to the wire? Am I going to be able to win? It's a week-to-week winning. You know, it's like you're not looking at the end of the rainbow. If you want to be successful in fantasy, right, you need to look ahead. You need to see who you're playing, how their lineup is structured. If you have 2 of your RB1, RB2 on a bye week, do they have the same thing? Is it really going to be that much of a disadvantage for you? Who do you have on your bench? Do you have good backups, right? You know, how many quarterbacks do you have there? You know, how many defenses? You know what I mean? Do you have 2 kickers? If you do, you just wasted a spot. You know what I mean? There's certain positions you don't need 2 of, and there's others that are you absolutely need 2 of. If you don't have 2 tight ends, and when you draft, I feel in fantasy you'll lose. A lot of times it's a lot. You don't have the depth after. And then what happens if you have Travis Kelce and you don't pick another one, right? And then on your bench, and then he gets hurt. Then you're really fucked because you didn't draft one and you got all these RB3s and flexes and, you know, 4th best wide receiver, 5th, you know, Michael Gallups and all this shit over here and over there when you could have had maybe like an Ingram, right, and a Kelce or a Jordan Reed, but you were dumb and you picked the wrong player. And then now you're just streamlining with Cameron Brate or someone even worse than that, you know, on the lower end tight ends because, you know, or Higbee or just someone that's not going to get enough targets to make it worthwhile. And then you go from getting maybe 10 to 25 fantasy points with Kelce, then all the way you're getting like 4 or less. And then you pray that he gets in the end zone every 3 games, but you can't afford to keep him. And you're just swapping out week in and week out. Who needs that stress? You know what I mean? You need to do that, you know, and that'll really help you have that depth. You definitely want to. You know, even in the league that I have, just the 1,200 and the 4 spots, just to show you kind of like the roster breakdown, it's that you got to have it. Mahomes for me, right? Tyler Boyd, D.D. Westbrook starting. And I'm very confident I could start them the whole year and not even have to swap out for bigger names because they'll be able to give me production. Saquon and Aaron Jones, I love that, right? They got the highest projected point plays them. You know, it's not going to be every week, but O.J. Howard's a guy that has great yak yards, great hands, great route running. He's almost like a wide receiver, just a little bit thicker, right? Like Kittle also could be a wide receiver. You know, you could say that for Ertz. Ertz is a little bit bigger, but maybe Kelce, you know, big, fast guy that has speed at the tight end position. But OJ could be a guy that could get 1 or 2, and if you get 80 yards and 2 touchdowns, 80, and normally is what points there, 6, 12, you know what I mean? You're looking at 20 points or more, you know what I mean, with something just like 80 and 2 touchdowns, a couple halfback dives, you know? after just plowing into the line after catching a 10-yard screen, or a fade route. Tight ends can do it. And then Geis at my flex, that was huge. You always want to have that third running back that could be your RB number 2. And that's one of the biggest things that you want to do. You can't overcompensate and draft RB, RB, RB. And then you're fucked at the wide receiver, or you don't want to go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. You know what I mean? If it's a 12-man league, you go DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, Tyler Lockett. But then when you go get your running backs, who the fuck is left then? You're already in the 4th round and you're trying to get 2 good running backs. Who's there? I mean, you're really scrambling. You're not even going to have like a Damian Williams there. I mean, you're not going to, Carson ain't going to be there. Dalvin Cook ain't going to be there. You're looking like middle of the pack. You're looking like Peyton Barber, and like, you don't want the Bucs players. You know what I mean? You don't want that, do you? Kareem Hunt. I mean, you're going to be looking at like backups at that point. I mean, it's not going to be looking too good. I mean, there'll be some guys that'll be floating there, but you don't want to put yourself in a position like that. Keep that in mind. These things that you learn that I'm telling you can help you win a $1,000 league, $5,000 league, a free league. But there's methods to the madness. And with fantasy football and NFL, I'm on that same like insane wavelength that I can be on my phone and manage lineup and manage 8 lineups and manage my friends and draft for my friends, do all that, and help them. And you know what I mean? And you got to be wired. In it, you got, especially because it's one thing for me to do research and do the highlights and then the training camps and do all that. But fantasy, I'm on that all the time, 24/7. It consumes my life on top of everything else that I'm doing for you. But what did we learn today, Michael Pierpont? We learned today, number 1, a guy that's played fantasy a lot didn't even maybe realize certain little things that you're missing out on, and sometimes it's best available player, right? They like to say that, just like in the draft for NBA and for NFL. Sometimes you draft, right, the best available player, right? Not just the position, not just a small forward in NBA, but if he can play power and small, versatility, right? Sometimes you got to do that. 2 defenses, always, right? Kicker, only 1. Quarterback, depending on how many spots you have, if you have 4, only 1. If you have 6 or 7 spots, get 2, and don't wait too late to get the second one. Make sure you have 2 solid ones. You want to make sure that you're able to break that down, If that second one ends up being a Kirk Cousins or a Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, that could really help you in your bye week depending on who you have. And then if that other quarterback, let's say you have Stafford and Roethlisberger, right? You can go back and forth because each guy is probably going to have his good games and his bad games. But then when Ben goes against Cleveland, do you want to actually have him starting even if it's at home or on the road when Stafford's playing maybe the Bengals? You know what I mean? You got to look at the matchup. So even though the Stafford might be, the lower name, maybe not as consistent, right? But the matchup might be better, and you got to, you want to make sure you rotate those. Running backs, definitely, as you want to have a bunch, but you can't overcompensate and do too many because you want RB1, RB2, and then flex in your first 3 positions, and those guys aren't going to get hurt, and they're going to be great for the whole season. How does that work out for you a lot of times? It don't. Sometimes those guys get banged up, and then you're picking wide receiver 4th and 5th round, right, or wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver, and then the talent pool is not the same. So make sure you get elite in each one. Saquon Barkley, right? But the next round, there's another good running back there, maybe like an Aaron Jones or someone like a Freeman. But if Juju Smith-Schuster's there and Antonio Brown, you get someone there, a Julio, Michael Thomas. I mean, imagine if you end up having a lineup, right? And then you end up having a Michael Thomas in your lineup. Think about how good that makes you feel, like a Thielen, and then you end up going like Saquon, Thielen, right? And then you got a Carson. You know what I mean? It looks nice. Then you got 2 good ones, right? You got an awesome wide receiver. You're not worried about the wide receivers being weak now because even if the number 2 is like a Michael Gallup, you still got Juju. He can produce for 2 people and just him. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure you have the balance. Otherwise, you'll never get a Juju talent in the 4th round. And he has upside to give you numbers like the running backs do at times. And if you're a top 7, 8 wide receiver, you can outperform some of the RB1s and the RB2s a lot of times in the flexes. You guys know that. You know what I mean? It just depends on who it is in the matchup. Big facts. So let me scroll up here. Lots of comments. I mean, I knew that this was going to work out for you guys. Mason Kennedy. Next year, yeah, absolutely. I'll try to remember everybody, and I can help people. I help so many newbies and beginner people. You know what I mean? Like I said, the draft that I helped with my friend today, right, was a $500 league, right? So let's look at his team again. You guys heard my $1,200 one. Let's look at his team. And this was just from today at lunch, right? Late draft, super, super late, right? Amazing team. One of the best teams that has ever been constructed, I feel. So you got, check this out, $500 on the line. Jared Goff at quarterback late, right? He might be able to outscore the Chiefs this season. It's possible. Odell Beckham as the 1, Godwin at the 2. Godwin is probably the best number 2 wide receiver you possibly can have that's not an elite name. He's going to give you production like Tyler Boyd or D.D. Westbrook, who I also like as the wide receiver number 2. But if you had him at the 1, you can still survive because it's about the targets that you're going to get. And there's going to be times that Odell gets outperformed by Godwin. More touchdowns, more yards. It's going to happen. Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones at running back. So let's repeat. Goff, Odell, Godwin, Chubb and Jones, Ingram at tight end, top 5 tight end, right? Carson as the flex. Are you kidding? Melvin Gordon on the bench, just stashed away, right? He gives you anything. Then you have Chubb, Jones, Chris Carson, and Melvin Gordon. You can win the league with those guys right there. And if 2 of the guys go down, Chubb and Jones, with injuries, guess what? You have Carson and Melvin Gordon. You're okay. You're good. You have depth. Oh, A.J. Green on the bench, right? So you got Odell, Godwin, A.J. Green just looming, right? If he comes back in a month, you got something for nothing. Geis on the bench, Kirk Cousins as the backup, Jordan Reed, Gostkowski kicker, Jacksonville, and Dallas D. Do you hear any weak spots in that team even on the bench? I mean, even if you want to say Cousins, but you got Goff. So at least you got someone that has Thielen and Diggs and Rudolph and Cook. He might not be the best, fantasy QB, but as far as backup fantasy QBs, he's one of the best that you could have at that position late when you're just trying to pick someone up to replace your starter for 1 week in Goff, or maybe a tough matchup against the Seahawks D if Cousins is going against a team that's shitty like the Buccaneers, right? Jordan Reed, right? And Evan Ingram, a nice one too to replace. Two defenses, remember? Pierpont, Jacksonville, which I wanted Chicago but wasn't there, Jacksonville, and Dallas. Don't be a hater on the Dallas Cowboys. You recognize that their defense is elite, and if that's the backup defense and Jacksonville, look how sexy that sounds. You're going against teams that go against a top 2 defense. Chicago Bears 1, Jacksonville 2. Dallas, in a lot of people's books, is going to be up there in the 3, 4, 5, 6 range, fantasy-wise and in real life. The Cleveland Browns defense is underrated. That'll be good. Denver probably at times will be decent. You know what I mean? But now it gives you stability instead of just doing Jacksonville and then having to stick with that, right? Then, think about it. If you got Jacksonville, they're going against at Houston, right? And this might be week 2 for him. I mean, obviously, because it's a different schedule because we know Jacksonville, I believe, is playing KC, right? So this is maybe week 2. Jacksonville at Houston in week 2, I believe maybe this is what the screenshot's from, right? Or Dallas at Washington, right? So, I mean, you can decide on what defense you feel that will be better. Is who's the quarterback for Washington? Who's the quarterback? Deshaun Watson and Hopkins. So normally you can go Jacksonville for maybe the upside, but Dallas at Washington, even though it's on the road, that defense could get you more, So, it just depends. Just on the route that you guys want to go. Real quick. Jessica, I read your message. That's crazy. Apologize. I hope Marquise Lee plays. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has been wanting for him to play since college, and he just keeps getting banged up, Corey. That's crazy. But Mason, I'll look for you next year. Helen Nguyen, pick up Justice Hill or keep Balaj. Woo, see that? I love that, Helen. See, because you get people that ask great questions like that. Fantasy is not just one of those things that the guys play. Saturdays for the boys, like Barstool Sports, Girls play fantasy. Girls love fantasy, especially when you can talk smack and you're at an office or if you're doing it with friends, you know what I mean? And so, quote unquote, girls can't follow sports. Bullshit. Girls can't play fantasy. I'll tell you a few that can play, you know what I mean? It just depends on your dedication and how you can do it. But Helen's got a great question, and this is a tough one. Justice Hill or keep Balaj? So if you look at the matchups and you look who they're playing against, pick up Justice Hill or keep Balaj. So in my opinion, Hill will be able to get, some opportunities there, but then he's behind on the depth chart, So I would probably keep Balaj, but keep an eye on Hill. I mean, obviously if he scores, but look on the team that he's on with the other people that he's competing with. You could say the same thing for Balaj as well, but I think Balaj is going to have more opportunities, and he's the guy that has more upside Justice Hill's upside is only going to surpass Balaj is if all those guys in front of Justice Hill get injured and he's like starting or a solid RB2 with no competition whatsoever. You know what I mean? It just depends on how many, targets, how many handoff attempts. I mean, you don't know just yet. It's early in the season to get kind of analytics down, just yet. But for me, if that was my team and it was money, Balaj for sure. You know what I mean? And just wait it out and see what the certain players are going to do. You can pick up guys from Miami, the Dolphins. Albert Wilson is one of the guys in the YouTube league that I picked up. I had Cole Beasley originally, but I know with Albert Wilson, formerly of the Chiefs, right, he's valuable because you can put him at a flex, even though you don't want to have a wide receiver. But if you're thin in your lineup, because what? Ryan Fitzpatrick loves to throw to who? Slot receivers. What position does Albert Wilson play? Slot receiver. He had the most targets at slot receiver last season and the year before, right? Ryan Fitzmagic. So if you know that information, you can also grab a guy like that, and he has a better chance to probably score touchdowns than maybe some of the others, like Devontae Parker, since they moved some of the pieces around. Kenny Stills is no longer there, so you got to look at things like that. Analytics, Smitty says, pick up Justice Hill. Hill will have a good year in that offense. Yeah, but it's a gamble too. But if Balaj starts to break out though too, you can hang on to guys and kind of wait. There'll be other guys that come up on the wire and things that are available. It's early still. I need an RB2 standard PPR league. Okay. So you need a Marlon Mack, Coleman, or Shady McCoy. Easily trust the vibes, right? You can trust me, Mack. Mack is going to get the most opportunities. Coleman was the starter. They just announced that Breida is starting now, and I do my research, so that's how I know. So Coleman's value went down from an RB1 to an RB2, which would have been a flex option for Coleman for you, right? But not now. And Shady McCoy is going to be splitting carries with Damian, Williams and a few others, right? So there's be like 3 or 4 running backs they might rotate with. So Shady could start, but I don't think he will. And even if he doesn't start, his carries are going to be shared. So it's a risky pick. Marlon Mack is a number 1. He doesn't have any competition besides Nyheim Hines. And only reason that Hines is going to get more looks is if Mack is completely injured out of the lineup. So Mack, to me, is an RB2. But if you have him as your running backs, put him at RB1. If it's those 3 that you have to. But depending on who you have at number 2, I can help you. But that's an easy one. Easy, because Matt can catch out of the backfield. He's the number 1. The other 2 guys are number 2s, right? Or maybe number 3s. I mean, you don't really know how down the depth chart they're going to go, based off vibe or, personnel packages. But definitely Marlon Mack. So hopefully that answered your question. That's a no-brainer. Jags 27, Chiefs 24. Bill Romanowski with a ballsy prediction. And the defense could help them win, but not against Mahomes. I think that they'll limit Mahomes, but Mahomes can still throw up 2 touchdown passes, in my opinion. Gallup is going to be up against Giants number 2 corner. Oh yeah, I think I'm going to start him. And Gallup, to me, could have better numbers than Amari Cooper at the end of the year. And I'm not feeling that I'm too crazy to say that. I think he's going to be like Godwin and Tyler Boyd, where you're going to see a real breakout from a player that's not an elite player. It's not AB. It's not Michael Thomas. And if your number 1 goes out and you have Godwin, right, from the Bucks, right? You have Tyler Boyd from the Bengals until A.J. Green comes back or not, right? Or D.D. Westbrook. You can run with those guys with wide receiver 1, 2, and flex, or 1 and 2. And the reason I say that because I'm doing it right now in one of the leagues, and I feel confident in it. I mean, you can have other names, of like the Antonio Browns and the Thielens and the Diggs, right? But if you look at the structure of the lineup and how many targets they're going to get, I mean, you can make it work. And that's big facts. You just need to be able to do your research. It's not easy. Trust me. It's one of those things I put in so many hours, you have no idea. And a lot of people come to me for help, but I get compensated with cash and duck stuff, and you know what I mean? But it's because I want to help you guys, win your league. And the thing is if you can have a ringer, kind of like me, I can help you guys, take it to that next level. You know what I mean? Fantasy is tough, because in a lot of fantasy is one, it's like when they say, elite athletes, it's what they do behind the scenes, what makes them great. That's true, not only in fantasy, but in everything, you know what I mean? When they don't see you working and grinding, you know what I mean? That's the times that you can really make things happen. But like I said, Justice Hill is someone to keep an eye on. But like I said, if that was me, that's what I would do. John Robertson, Anderson versus Tre'Davious White in week 1. Yes, that's going to be a crazy matchup. Definitely. I've been getting Devontae Parker in like round 8. Is that good? I don't like Devontae Parker being drafted at all. I don't know, Donald, if you're in a 12-man league, but the thing is, if you're going to pick a player on that offense, right, it's kind of like streamlined. Who do you Stills was there, right? But the player to get there is Albert Wilson, because I think like as long as Fitzmagic is in there, I can't say for, Rosen and what's going to happen there, but I know the slot and that particular person that you can move around in personnel packages. To me, I have Albert Wilson in our YouTube league. I picked him up over Cole Beasley as a bench spot that I'm just improving. So you just want to improve it each day, improve it each week. Even the last 2-3 spots on your bench are very important because of injury, possibilities, as well as having different matchups from week to week. You don't want to just be like, oh, I got Julio, so I'm never going to move him. I'm going to keep him at the wide receiver 1 all season, when you might have a guy like a Tyler Boyd that's on your bench that has a better matchup that's on fire, but you just stick with Julio going against let's say the Bears defense because he's Julio Jones. But then Tyler Lockett's going against the Bucs and scores 3 times, and then you miss out on fucking 35 points, and then you lose because you went based off name recognition instead of looking at the other factors like the talent. That's what you got to do. It's one of those things. It's definitely not easy, to be good at it or to be great at it. It's a process. It's like shooting free throws. You got to do a lot of research. Always be on the wire. Always, be reading in the articles. I promise you, it'll help you tremendously. And you can come here. I'm like the plug. I'm like the hookup. I got you. Any question? Because I follow every team. I follow every player. So who better to ask? You know what I mean? I'm going to give you the good decisions. And if I don't, obviously they'll let you know. But yeah, Devontae Parker to me is undraftable. You don't want to draft him. That's a guy you can pick up on the wire after the draft is over. Round 8. If you're going to round 8 and you've already got running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, you should be looking at a quarterback. Or if you got one in round 6, that's the point where you get a defense and a kicker. Round 7 and round 8, you make sure you get the number 1 D and the number 1 kicker before everyone else starts doing it. That's what I do. You know what I mean? I get the Bears. I got Bears defense. I pop it off in like round maybe 7, 6, 8. A little earlier than people think, 7, 8, 9, and then get the number 1 kicker right after. They say it's Greg the Leg, but I like Tucker every year. Reliable. He has the good leg. Greg the Leg is an amazing talent and can score more points. It's possible, but he gets kind of banged up from time to time. I want consistency. You know what I mean? So that's what you got to do. But in the future, yeah, don't pick him. And if you have Albert Wilson as an alternative, get Albert Wilson. I think he's questionable, but that would be a guy that you could stash on your bench and you'd have more upside, I feel. Parker hasn't really lived up to the billing, you know what I mean? As you know, regardless if you're a Dolphins fan and you're just picking one of your guys or just, but I would, don't ever pick him, in your draft. That's a guy that you can always pick up later if you have like a 10 or 12-man league. Don't even pick him. Just wait for him to sit there later and get him for nothing. You know what I mean? Value your picks, Like I said, in round 8, that's like number 1 defense time. You want the Chicago Bears, Donald? You want the number 1 kicker and Tucker? Or do you want Parker, a guy that you're not going to even play at all, or it's going to be a flex, or it's going to be a wide receiver 3, 4, 5 backup to your main guys? Value. Always value. You know what I mean? You always have to get the most out of it, I've been drafted Jared Cook at tight end. Think he has a big year. He's going to be probably, I would say, a top 12 tight end. And some weeks he'll look like a top 3 tight end. But then there's going to be weeks where he might go cold. Even though that's going to be one of Breeze's main options behind, Kamara. There should be some great opportunities and looks there. But we're gonna have to see, how many targets he gets. And Michael Thomas is going to snatch up some. Ted Ginn, is going to snatch up some of the other players. But even if you had him, you wanted to make sure you get a backup to Cook because you don't want to have to be stuck with Cook. Cook gets injured, right? And then you don't have anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So it's really important, Donald, to make sure that you get another one, to supplement Cook in matchups because he's not a top 3. But even if he was, you want to be able to have options in fantasy, not just stick with a guy just because he's a name and you just leave him there. That's how you lose in fantasy. So I'll give you TJ Hawk if we could trade. Too bad we can't. He said, I got Cook and Reed. Jordan Reed. Good. That's good. Because the thing is Reed will probably outperform Cook because he's going to be the number 1 option for any Redskin quarterback this season. And that's not only per Marcus, but I mean, if you kind of see the way that they're running things. So That's big facts. I have Mike Evans and Julian Edelman as my starters. That's nice, right? Julian Edelman will be very underrated. You can have him at a wide receiver 2. It's probably the nicest wide receiver 2, or one of the, maybe a Diggs, a wide receiver 2, Tyler Boyd, Godwin, D.D. Westbrook. But Edelman will be a guy that they like to go to a lot of different options, but that's not bad. DJ Moore and your wide receiver tight end spot. Godwin, D.D. Westbrook are on my bench, y'all. All right, I'll start Godwin if Evans is out, right? I wouldn't have DJ Moore in the lineup. Godwin and D.D. Westbrook are better than DJ Moore. You know what I mean? As far as like targets, I mean, Cam might be able to get DJ Moore in the end zone, but I trust, Godwin more and D.D. Westbrook more based off, getting in the end zone, better talent. To me, honestly, if that was me, obviously, going real ballsy, if you went Evans and Godwin, what are the chances that they both score, in the game? You know what I mean? It's kind of tough to have both. But at times you could go both, and they both will score. But you just got to be able to, kind of predict on how to go that route. But if it was me, I would go Evans, Edelman, and then I would go D.D. Westbrook over Moore, personally. Real ballsy, you go Evans, number 1 and number 2, but I don't believe in Jameis. If I had a better quarterback, then I would be like, yeah, Godwin and Evans. That would be fire, But that's personally what I would do. Evans 1 or Godwin 1 if Evans is out, Edelman, right? And then have Westbrook as your flex over DJ Moore. It'll get you better results, I think, from week in and week out. See, I'd rather start Westbrook. Yeah, Westbrook. Singletary is a cowbell. Play him. He's a sleeper. I don't know. That's going to be someone, though, that you would be having at your flex position, and you hope he gets in the end zone once or twice, which could happen, but a little risky. So, it's just one of those things you're going to have to kind of maintain and manage. Jared Cook is going to surprise, right? I'm not saying that he's not. I mean, he's the second option. Goes Kamara, right? And then Michael Thomas at wide receiver. That's the first option. Cook is going to be like the wide receiver number 2 option, right? Because he's going to be able to get those looks and be the, security blanket, the comfort blanket, right? For Breeze. And then you got Ginn and a few others, Kirkwood and the guys that he makes better. But you're going to have games where Jordan Reed is going to outperform Cook, and you're going to want to put him in, especially if he's getting the most targets, even out of the wide receivers. Like, imagine if Geis is getting the rock a bunch, like 20, 23 times a game, right? And then Chris Thompson sprinkle in here and there, but then Jordan Reed is getting all the looks, for the tight ends and wide receivers. You're going to want to go to the hot hand, but he has injury problems, but there's more upside with Jordan Reed when he's healthy. When Jordan Reed is healthy, he's a top 7 tight end. He used to be top 5 tight end in the league when he was healthy. But the thing is, he's just banged up a lot. But he plays like a wide receiver. So, yeah, well, with yours, Jessica, with some of the auto drafting that happened, it actually drafted you a team better than most of the teams in the league, because it usually picks, the best available talent, and it doesn't like running back. It definitely moves the picks around to make it more balanced for you. Like, we're playing you week 1, we might lose. I mean, when AB was going to get suspended or cut, it didn't look too good for us, you know what I mean? But now I feel that we're a little bit closer. We might lose to you, but, we'll have to see. All right, let me scroll down here. Keep going through the comments because I don't want to pass up anybody. My dream team is with Kelsey and Mahomes. Yeah, could you imagine that? But sometimes having 2 guys on the same team is bad because you can rack up points together, but when it's the bye week, then you got 2 guys that are elite that you have to replace. How are you going to replace Mahomes and Kelsey? You better have done that in the draft, because if you didn't, you're fucked. You're going to lose that next week. Just based off that having those 2 elite guys. You got Kelsey, you better have someone in there to back him up. Greg Olsen or Jordan Reed, something in there. And then, if you got Mahomes, you better have like a Kirk Cousins. You don't want to be stuck with a Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, maybe you do. Yeah, I got you. I can do this all day long. I can do fantasy 24 hours straight. You know what I mean? I can make anyone's team a championship team to a certain degree. You know what I mean? Obviously, if I help you draft, then you're going to have the best possible chance to win because you're going to have the best talent. But then once you build your team, it's about what you do week in and week out, and not just staying pat and not letting, not trying to get waiver wire pieces and not trying to make your team better each week. That's how you lose. You want to be able to be a winner. Big facts. All right, when is the time to make changes? The time to make changes is every time, anytime. You know what I mean? Like right now, before the games are started, you can't move the pieces that were in play for the Bears and the Packers. So you look at your bench, right? Your starters are probably good, but you look at your bench, on your team, Jessica, do you have 2 defenses? If not, right? Look at the player talent, see what they're projected for, see if you need to drop a player like a bad running back or wide receiver backup, someone who's expendable, get a second defense. Do you have 1 kicker or 2? If you have 2, get rid of 1. Keep the best one and only have 1, right? Tight ends, do you have 1 or 2, right? You better have 2. You know what I mean? Wide receivers, you're going to want to have, obviously, the depth. You're going to want to have 3 or 4 of those. Running backs, typically 5 or 6. And quarterbacks, depending on how many spots you have on the, the bench. I have 1 league, it's 4. So you can't pick a second quarterback. But if you have a standard one that gives you, 7? You definitely better pick a backup quarterback. Don't be stuck with just the one and then have to stream for that 1 week and hope someone's there. That's not going to work out a lot of times. I mean, unless you have like a Dak Prescott just sitting on the wire, you can pick him up for a week and you win, and then you can, drop them and then pick up back other running backs or wide receivers if you don't care about them, And then after the wire, you put in your request after all the games are over. The waiver wire, there's a priority, Jessica, and you'll be able to see what your priority is. And people put in requests for the top wire targets. And you don't want to be caught in the cold and not do anything and watch everyone else try to get pieces. You want to try to improve your team every day, every week, every position. And I'm not even joking. Every position, even the bench. Your bench should look like another starting team. If it doesn't, then you're not doing your job. You need to make sure that you give yourself depth. It's like, you have a squad like an A team, but it shouldn't be a B team for the bench or C. It should be A1 and A2. It needs to be that way if you want to have the depth, not just in case injuries happen, but to give you the depth for matchups to win each week. Don't give yourself just one option. You have just Patrick Mahomes, but what happens if they play Baltimore D or Bears or they, play someone tough? Wouldn't you rather have a lower name guy like Kirk Cousins to go against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers rather than that scenario? Even though it's Patrick Mahomes and he's going to do something good, but that scenario puts you in disaster of not getting as many points. Don't stick by just name recognition, even if it's Patrick Mahomes. Go for the matchup. Kirk Cousins, lower name, not even anywhere near Mahomes, but he's got a better chance to succeed against a shitty Tampa Bay, home or away, week to week. Find a way. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how that logic makes sense? You have to not get in love with the names of the players. You have to be able to win each week, home, road, turf, grass, snow, rain, sunshine, overcast, wind. I mean, this shit matters. I mean, if you really want to be good, this shit fucking matters. Home or away, you know what I mean? It depends on personnel, packaging. I mean, if you want to be good, you got to really grind. You got to be able to kind of get in the news and see, like, if they have tendencies that they're leaking to the media, Like, if you didn't read or know anything and you had Coleman and you had him at your flex on the 49ers, who was named the starter from Atlanta, and then all of a sudden game day comes around and you find out he's the RB2 or 3 and Breed is getting all the looks, you just lost your whole week on one spot because the other team will probably whoop the ass. You know what I mean? You won't be able to make up those points because you had an RB2 at your flex and maybe he doesn't get the ball when you could have had a wide receiver 1 at your flex or another RB1 at your flex instead of something that you didn't do the research on. You got to always be reading and following the teams of the players that you have on your roster. And the fantasy apps, you got to look at the information. You got to be obsessed. If you want to be able to get in the top 3, otherwise, it's not going to just fall into your lap, Aaron Jones pissed me off. I have Aaron Jones. Who? Aaron Jones, Donald. I have Aaron Jones in that $1,200 with Saquon. No worries. Tough defense. You know what I mean? Tough defense. The toughest defense that you possibly could go up against. It's okay. He's going to have big games this season. 2 touchdowns, maybe even 3 in a game. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about him at all. You know what I mean? Just let the other competition come across. You're not going to play the Bears every week. Then it wouldn't be a smart player to have. But I picked him 2nd overall with Saquon because I believe in him. I could have went Freeman from Atlanta, but I think Jones has more upside. We've seen what he can do weeks 10 to 14 last season when they started playing like the Vikings and the Seahawks. Good defenses, and he was still running over them, hitting the holes, good vision. He'll be just fine. I have him. I mean, if I picked him, shit. You picked him. You saw the value, I like him better than like a Fournette or, a Mixon or a Cook. You know what I mean? He's up there. I mean, he's up in the, top 5 to 9 running back. He's somewhere in that range, 6 to 9, depending on who you want to get. Big facts. All right, Solstice. Bye. Bye. Hopefully you have a good night. John Roberts, I wonder if the Bills activate Duke Williams because of the Andre Roberts is hurt. Well, I wanted Duke Williams to just make the roster and not maybe get cut, put on the practice squad, or end up being on the team. We both watched and saw talent, you know what I mean? So we'll see what kind of opportunities that you're going to be able to get with the roster. I'm super excited to be able to watch him this season. I love underdog stories. I love the Buffalo Bills, the Josh Allen story, the McDermott story, from obviously going from Carolina to the Bills. And it's a cool story just because it's like one of those things. It's like when you have a team that always gets criticized and it hasn't been good in a while, and you can kind of see it blossoming before other people. That's like Buffalo Bills. I think that there's a good chance that they can make a wild card spot, even though it's easy to say, oh, Chargers, Browns, Ravens, right? It's easy, or Texans or Colts. It's easy to say those ones, but it's ballsy to say Jets, Bills, right? But it could happen. You know what I'm saying? Le'Veon and, Jamal Adams and Quinnen Williams and C.J. Mosley and Sam Darnold trying to take it to the next level, but then you got Josh Allen and, a plethora of running backs, Frank Gore and Singletary and Yeldon and Cole Beasley and John Brown and Edmonds at linebacker and Tre'Davious White and Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde and, Ed Oliver. I mean, do I need to keep going? You know what I mean? Like I can name drop with them, So we'll see, but I'm excited. My friends kept typing up Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams before, hyping Aaron Jones. Excuse me. It's been a long day. Hyping up Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams before our draft. I stayed away from them until I saw the Packers' new offense. So far, I'm glad I did. But the thing is, Smitty, remember, the Packers' offense, didn't do a whole lot, but you're playing the number 1 defense. The Packers' offense is going to be probably top 6 in the NFL. I mean, Aaron Jones will be able to get loose. Devontae Adams is a top 5 wide receiver fantasy talent. Maybe a not top 5 wide receiver, but close. I mean, if Devontae Adams isn't number 5 in your books, he's like 5, 6, 7, 8, competing with like Juju Smith-Schuster, competing with Mike Evans, competing with, Keenan Allen, competing with that second wave of guys that are really good, at wide receiver, but maybe aren't top 4. Odell, you know what I mean? They're all in that little smash up. But I like Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams a lot. They're going to score a lot of points this season. They're going to help a lot of teams win. Rate your team. Jaden, I will. Russell Wilson, absolutely love Russell Wilson. Le'Veon Bell, I had him in one of our leagues at a number 4 pick, so I like Le'Veon. Damian Williams as a running back number 2, so far so good. I love your team. Tyreek the Freak Hill, okay, love that. Diggs, and you having Diggs at your number 2, you could have Diggs as your number 1. And for the fact that you have Tyreek the Freak Hill at your 1 and Diggs at your 2, really shows you something there, right? So all your picks up to that point are A++, right? Vance McDonald. It's kind of a sleeper pick, right? But the thing is he's not a top 5 tight end. He's probably somewhere that's going to be like 6 talent, like maybe a Jordan Reed or a Greg Olsen, just someone else to supplement, because you're probably going to be able to get better stats out of that other guy. You can go back and forth with the roster. But it's one of those things. I mean, so far up to that point, everything's good. Get a better tight end. Defense, Browns, I love. That's a sleeper. That's like a top 7 defense that's selected, but it could be a top 3 defense this season. I really believe in Myles Garrett. He could be a top 5 MVP candidate on the defensive side. Myles Garrett, he could. So Denzel Ward, Greedy Williams from LSU, got some sexy pieces. You know what I mean? So your team is pretty legit. Jake Elliott could get a better kicker than that, but I mean, still is going to be able to get points because of the offense that he's in, right? Flex, Coleman, Breida, handcuff. Well, obviously Breida, you would want at your flex there. But I would definitely try to get another defense to supplement your Browns when they have tough matchups, when they're going against the Ravens or Pittsburgh or a team that can score points on them. You want to maximize your points. So right there, I can tell you your weakest spot on the team is tight end, kicker, right? And then obviously those are the main ones, tight end and kicker, and then you want to make sure you get a backup defense for the Browns. But I like the Browns. They may not be the Bears, but they're going to put up similar Bears numbers, I think, half the season. They'll get blown out maybe in a couple games this season, but I think they're going to be really good. I think the Browns are going to make the playoffs as a wild card, so I think that having their defense is a lot of people kind of slept on them, but if you pick their D, you watch preseason. You watch that Bucs game probably. You watch games like I did, right? And then at some point, you keep Breida. Coleman, I guess you can keep, but if you can get someone, better, as a better RB2 or another RB1 option possibly. But overall, your team, if I had to grade it overall, it's not an A, because if you had a better tight end, there, like instead of maybe going for a Diggs, maybe you ended up getting like O.J. Howard instead, and then you ended up getting Tyreek the Freak Hill and maybe like a Tyler Boyd or a D.D. Westbrook. Do you see? And then how much better the team would look, right? You got Russell Wilson, Le'Veon Bell, Damian Williams, Tyreek the Freak Hill. But you got two guys on the same team, which worries me a little bit with the bye week, right? And then, like I said, instead of Diggs, you picked O.J. Howard, and then Godwin or Tyler Boyd, right? Cleveland D, Elliott, and then Elliott would be your only weak spot, and then Breida at the flex, it would be good too. You know what I'm saying? But you want to make sure you have all the names look good to you. There's no like kind of shaking your head where you're like, oh, all these are awesome, but McDonald isn't the greatest. Or Elliott could be better. Or maybe I could get a better defense than the Browns and see what the Coleman situation looks like. You know what I'm saying? But that team right there is probably, I would say, like a B plus. B to B plus. Because you definitely could have, did a better strategy there. Less of a wide receiver than Diggs. Get the top tier tight end. Get like O.J. Howard, right? Or Kittle was sitting there thinking about how better the team would look on paper, right? And you could still get a Godwin or Tyler Boyd, a Lockett, someone, Alshon Jeffrey, and then it still looks solid all the way across the board. But your defense just went, or your tight end went from a top 12 tight end all the way up to a top 4 tight end. Your lineup doesn't have a lot of weakness. You know what I mean? When you do that. But overall, not too bad. Dallas defense is not elite. They are one of the best defenses. In fantasy, it's a little bit different from week to week with the points. If they hold a team to 10 or less, obviously you're going to get sacks and picks. But, yeah, Dallas's defense is nice. You can have them in certain matchups, and they're going to clean up. Smitty, Dallas has elite linebackers, and half their D line is great. The rest, Very big facts right there by Smitty. You called it right there. Byron Jones had one good year. I need to see him do it again, but we can all give credit where credit's due. DeMarcus Lawrence is awesome, right? Van Der Esch, awesome. As far as a rookie going into his second year, right? Jalen Smith, awesome. Byron Jones, like B+, right? Do it again. Let me see you do it again. But you know what I mean? But you had some of the other pieces are a little thin after that, though, But with the ones that they do have, those 4, they really elevate the games of the other 7 guys that are out there. That's big facts, and that's really what took their team to like a top 5 defense, in the league. Said, you messed up, Orion. Beasley is taking punts this week because Roberts is hurt. He's going to score mad points. Well, it just depends on, I don't know how many yards, though. What we can see, you know what I mean? But also, too, I might not, I was going to have him on my bench, right? And I know you're a Bills guy, but if I had an opportunity to get like Albert Wilson, and if I played him with Fitzpatrick, I could probably get a better chance to score with Albert Wilson. So it's a give and take. It depends on how many yards that Beasley gets on top of the special teams yards. He'd have to probably get me at least like 60 yards or 70 yards, besides the yards that he gets in special teams for me to play him over someone else that I think is going to get more targets. But it's a give and take if you want to win. I get it. Anti-starting a draft. Okay, I can help. Oh, the league is 14 teams. Okay, well, if it's 14, then I got to give you a better grade because I didn't know that. But like I said, could have been some adjustments that you made, because obviously in 12-man league, there's a little bit more talent. So based off your team, what you had, if it's a 14-man league, then I give you an A-, because like I said, to get a full straight A, you would have not went Diggs and went like O.J. Howard and then got like a Godwin or a Lockett, and then it still looks sexier on paper. Maybe a little bit better of a kicker. Because the thing is that if you would have went like, let's say Bears defense in round 7 and then Tucker round 8, you don't have to worry about Coleman or Elliott or McDonald. You know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure you're elite top to bottom, even kicker and defense. Sometimes you win your week by just kicker and defense alone. Simply. You know what I mean? The other spots might not hit, but then all of a sudden your kicker gives you 17. You know? Your defense gives you fucking 20. That makes up for that booty wide receiver number 1 or 2 that gave you 4. You know what I mean? It's very important to get those positions. The most undervalued positions in fantasy football are defense and kicker. People don't realize that, like, you need those to win because those are 2 of your 9 spots. You know, that can consist of, you know, even though it's like just a section, a little pie piece, 10% or 15% or 20% of your entire lineup. But the impact of points that you could get from special teams, defense, right, and kicker can outweigh 2 of your superstars at like quarterback and running back. You could get more points in your defense and kicker than you could in your wide receiver number 1 and quarterback, or quarterback and RB number 1. Think about that for a second. You can win a league, right? But with a great defense getting you 18 and a kicker giving you 12, and then your quarterback shits the bed and gives you 10, and your running back that's supposed to give you 24 gives you, 11. I mean, shit happens. It's crazy, but, I've seen it. That's why it's important. But, yeah, Jaden, I give you A-, man, especially. But you could have made it a full A if you would have went that route, because I know you went, like, quarterback probably pretty late, and you started to stack wide receivers and running backs like 99.999% of the people do. But if you go early and draft the number 1 defense or number 2 defense and, like, round, like 7, 8, 9, get the jump on everyone else, get the Bears, boom. And then the next round, boom, kicker. You're done. Then you can go for running backs and wide receivers and stacking talent. You're not going to miss out on that much talent in the 6th round, 7th round, and 9th round running back. Is it really that big of a difference? Or 7th round wide receiver and 9th round wide receiver? Or would you rather have the number 1 defense and the number 1 fucking kicker? Boom, right? And then you look at your lineup and you got quarterback, right? Running back 1, 2, flex, wide receiver 1, 2, number 1 kicker, number 1 defense. It's a lot better. That's how you win in fantasy, right? And then you pick your backups. You don't pick all the backups and wait till, round 16 to get your defense or round 15 to get your kicker. That's how you lose. You should have already picked 2 defenses by the time it got towards the end, right? And then the kicker should have been within the first 8 rounds. There's a huge gap between the tight ends at the top and the middle and the bottom. Same thing with kickers. If you have one of the top 5 kickers, you have a way better chance of winning your league. People undervalue that position. Greg the Leg, Justin Tucker, Goskowski, Will Lutz, right? Butker. Like certain guys, you need these guys. If you want to be able to score points, you got to say, do they get people into field goal position? Do they have an awesome offense that scores a lot of touchdowns? So you're going to get a lot of extra points and maybe a couple field goals? Or are you going to be like a guy like Tucker, right? Who's arguably the best kicker in the league to me, because not only he can kick 50 and get you 5, right? He can do it multiple times in a game, and even if he gets extra points, sometimes Lamar Jackson isn't going to get you into the end zone. He'll get you almost there, and then cue Justin Tucker. Boom, boom, boom. Threes, instead of ones like maybe with Goff and Greg the Leg. Do you see what I mean? That's the difference. Greg the Leg could get hurt, right? He's got potential to maybe score more points. A lot of them are going to be extra points, but with Tucker, you can kick farther, right? And then you can get more field goal chances, and then 2 field goals. You can maximize your points based off your strategy. You got to remember that, right? If you write this stuff down, it'll help you in the future moving forward. There's a method to the madness. You know what I mean? Because think about it. Once you pick all your running backs and your starters are done, and then you're just stacking chips for running backs and wide receivers on your bench, what happens when you try to get a defense or a kicker? Are there any good ones left? No. And then you look at the other teams and they have good defenses and kicker after you draft, and you're like, fuck. You're like Justin Tucker and Bears D, fuck. And then you see their running backs and their fucking flex is like fucking Joe Mixon, and they got Michael Thomas and fucking Juju, and they got the number 1 kicker and the number 1 D. How confident are you at that point, right? Even the odds, they have those picks. Take the jump and gun and get the defense early and the kicker back to back, and then don't worry about it. Value those positions. Those are worth more, number one, than number 5 wide receiver, number 5 running back. Think about it. It's all perception in fantasy football with people that think that they know how to do things. Not that I know everything, but I feel that it's value on those picks. You don't obviously pick defense and kicker number 1 or number 2. Duh, right? You got to stack some chips. But after like round 6, you're sitting in round 7, right? Because you probably already went running back, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback. And then at that point, oh, hey, I got all my pieces full in my starting lineup. What's next? Defense, kicker, right? Flex, flex, defense, kicker, boom. And then you go to the bench. You don't do the running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, defenses, and all that bullshit, quarterback, and then pick the kicker and defense with your last 2 picks. If you're one of those people that's been doing that, have you guys been winning your league? Probably not. You know what I mean? Those little adjustments that you can make to your team can take you from a 3rd place to 1st, and 8th place to 4th, and make the playoffs and maybe make a run. You got to be able to do those little things. I'm telling you, I could write a book about this shit. I mean, it's proven. So many winners, so many top 3s, so much money won. Like, no joke. And sometimes it's luck. With injuries. When you get injured, you're fucked sometimes. If you have 4 of your first 6 picks in one of my friend's drafts that I helped him last year, right? We were out after week 2 in the league because we had 4 starters go down out of 6, like of the main ones. You can't win if Fournette and Roethlisberger and AJ Green and all that all go down, and it's like impossible almost to come back. You can fight and scrap on the wire, but I mean, depending on how many teams and who's left, it's not going to be good. So let's see here. So 14 teams. Lunar says TY over Juju. Not a day in hell, Lunar. Juju is going to way smoke and outperform TY. Even if luck was there, Juju's stats would be better. And that's just saying. Juju's a way better athlete, younger. He's the most up-and-coming, bright, and superstar-ish wide receiver right on the cusp. He's the one that's right there. He's almost on that Odell Beckham, Jr. status. He's almost on that, like AJ Green used to be. Mike Evans is trying to get to that point, but he's on a shitty team, so he doesn't get the pub. But he's just on the cusp of being with Devontae Adams and all those other guys. It's very, very close. You can argue. I could put Juju Smith-Schuster as my wide receiver number 1 over a lot of the top guys and feel comfortable. If I went RB number 1 and went Juju number 2, and then they have Hopkins, someone went, and AB and Michael Thomas and Julio, I feel with Juju, his stats can be just as good as all those guys that are in the top 4. I mean, to me, Juju, it might be the 5th best option. I mean, him, Mike Evans, there's going to be a few guys that you're going to be right on. Odell, but I like Juju. I like Juju over Mike Evans. I like Juju over Odell. Shit, I like Juju just as much as even maybe a Julio. No bullshit. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe not over AB, maybe not over Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins. The line starts somewhere. But, I mean, if you had him as the 4th best wide receiver in fantasy, I mean, I think you can get 8, 9, 10, 11 touchdowns this season, and get 1,100 to 1,400 yards. I think it's possible. He's going to be Big Ben's number 1. James Conner is going to run wild, All right, Bill Romanowski. Goff, Zeke, P. Lindsey, that's a sleeper, if he can stay healthy. Thielen, Galladay, Mike Williams, Melvin Gordon on the bench. First place is 400. Okay. So Goff and Zeke. Let's take a look at this lineup here. Let me take a little refreshment here. Hold on. All right, let me take a quick look. So Goff I love. Lower, kind of a pick. I have him in that $500 league for my friend. We wanted Russell Wilson, but he was gone. But Goff was the next, best thing. Zeke is Zeke. Lindsey, Thielen. So Galladay could be better, but I mean, as far as his opportunities, they're going to be there with Marvin Jones, and I like him actually better than Marvin Jones. You just got to hope that Jesse James and Hawkinson don't steal some of those targets. Mike Williams, second option wide receiver. You know what I mean? Melvin Gordon on the bench, but. I wouldn't run wide receiver like Thielen, Galladay, Mike Williams. I don't know if you have all those guys like wide receiver 1, 2, and flex, because I wouldn't have Mike Williams in your flex. So I know you didn't give me your whole lineup there, but there's the top. It's very top heavy, right? Goff, Zeke, Lindsey, Thielen, right? Gordon, you hope that he plays, but if he doesn't, Galladay and Mike Williams are, like wide receiver 2, flex kind of guys, but they're not going to hit every week. Some weeks they're going to be off, and you're not going to get any points. So you might want to look to see what other guys are available to compensate. Smitty, you're funny. I got James Conner, Michael Thomas so far. Perfect. Michael Thomas first, right? And then James Conner. So that's perfect. Elite wide receiver, running back, right? That's good. I like that. I got to catch up to you so I can help you out as you're doing your draft here. Let me scroll down. John Roberts, Singletary, Fournette, Julio, Ridley, John Brown, Beasley, McKenzie, Hyde, House of Money, Bills D, Vikings D. Bench is all right. Yeah, so, I mean, the John Roberts is, like, I know it's like you love your team and stuff and you want your guys, you know what I mean, because you love your team. But, team is thin, really thin, like, fantasy-wise. I'd have to rebuild your whole roster. Get rid of Cole Beasley and Brown, right? Get rid of Ridley, Isaiah McKenzie, right? Hyde, you know what I mean? Like, keep Bills D and Vikings D, and keep Singletary and maybe Fournette and Jones, but I'd have to get rid of everybody else and rebuild. No joke. Yeah, if you're drafting now, how does that work? The game's already started. The leagues should have already been done before that. That's weird. Josh Allen and Stafford. Okay. How well do you think I drafted in a 10-man league? Russell Wilson, Love. Kamara, that was your first pick. I love that. RB2. Ingram. Could be better, but he's a guy that'll get a lot of opportunities. You know what I mean? He's more of like a flex running back or a bench running back. Ingram. You know what I mean? If you really want to have the depth. But you have certain positions and, who you're trying to get depth on. Tyreek, okay. Lockett, I love. Flex, Gallup, or Allen Robinson. You'd probably want to do – well, Allen Robinson did okay, but he's not going to do that all the time. So Allen Robinson's the number 1 and Gallup is the 2, so you have to go with Allen Robinson by default, right? Ertz, whoo, so bad it hurts. Zach Ertz, I love it. Tucker, I love it. And then Dallas and Seattle D. Well, Dallas D you can keep, but you picked up a Seattle to give you some depth, and you obviously have Zeke Ansah and Jadeveon Clowney, you know what I mean? So you got some nice pieces there. So the only weak spot in your team, you already know what it is, right? It's Ingram. Ingram is a kind of a weak spot. You could definitely improve that and try to find someone on the wire. You know what I mean? But other than that, all the other pieces, the flex could be better too between Gallup and Robinson. I probably could find, someone in there, for you. But definitely, Allen Robinson at the flex for now. But you want to be able to have a running back in the flex if possible. But you're going to overcompensate and get more points with Kamara and Russell and Lockett and Tyreek that'll make up for the maybe lack of points that Ingram gets. If Ingram gets a 6, you're going to end up getting maybe 20 with Kamara, so it ends up being 26, 13, and 13. You know what I mean? If you look at it like an average, so. But overall, that's a nice team, man. I would probably give that an A-. You know what I mean? It could be if you got someone better at your RB2 based on how you were drafting, and instead of maybe getting Tyreek and Lockett, you didn't get Lockett and you got a better RB2, or if you would have went running back, wide receiver, running back, So if you went like Kamara, Tyreek, right, and then you went right back to running back, you could have gotten like somebody pretty good in that third spot. You know what I mean? That could have helped you. Or running back, wide receiver instead of getting Tyreek. If you went Kamara, and then maybe you could have gotten Damian Williams, or maybe Kamara and trying to think of another, like Joe Mixon, or Kamara and Dalvin Cook. You know what I mean? That looks a little bit better, a little bit more depth. Kamara and Carson. You know what I mean? Think score in that kind of zone. But that's a pretty damn good team, bro. That's a good team for a 12-man league, but for a 10-man. It's almost an A grade, but it's not. It's like B+ to A-. It could be a little better. The only way to be able to get like a real A- A grade, it's like it has to be like clean all the way through, and you don't have any weakness. You don't look at that paper and be like, because Ingram has chances where he could get 12 points. He can get you 70 yards and a touchdown, but other games he's gonna get stuffed, right? And he might get 14 carries for 50 yards, and you're fucked. You know what I mean? You need to have someone that's better. Imagine if you had Kamara and Carson, and instead of getting big numbers from Lockett, you had Tyreek and you had Dede, right? Or you had Tyreek and, Tyler Boyd. Then the team looks a little bit more, smoothed out. Kamara, Carson, right? Tyreek, Tyler Boyd or Dede Westbrook, right? And then Allen Robinson at the flex, Ertz, Tucker. See how much sexier it sounds when it's more complete? You know what I mean? You just pick one position off and one player off for your power, right? Your muscle for your team, and it changes your team, in a different dynamic, going from like running back heavy to wide receiver heavy. You never want to be wide receiver heavy. You want to be running back heavy. for not only RB1, RB2, flex, and backups for the injuries, because they're going to get injured more than the wide receivers normally. And they have more value because they run and get points, and they catch and get points. Wide receivers catch, and that's it. They don't run on top of that and get those type of looks. So you have to have the important value of running back, but don't overemphasize the running back value. RB1, like RB. You don't do 3 running backs in a row, you lose. Because more than likely, you're going to have an injury. And then if you got 3 elite running backs, 1, 2, and flex, who's your wide receiver at that point? 1 and 2. At that point, you're already picking in round 4 or 5. The Juju Smith-Schusters, right? The ABs, the Julios, they're not there anymore. And it's going to hurt you if you go that route. So you have to definitely have balance, on how you're doing it, if that makes sense. I know this is definitely helping you guys out. There's a science to it, like for real. Thomas, Connor, Mack, and Wentz. See, I wouldn't have went Wentz so early, bro. 4th round, way too early. You should have went right, wide receiver, running back, and then probably wide receiver or running back. If you have Mack, then you should have went wide receiver. You should have went wide receiver, running back, and went back to wide receiver or went tight end. Could have had like O.J. Howard, 4th best tight end, right? You want to wait till way later. Never pick a quarterback in the 4th round unless you're getting like Mahomes. You know what I mean? I know if he's like your guy, and stuff, but like, you're missing out on top tier talent at like, getting like a Tyler Boyd or a Godwin, to pair up with Michael Thomas. I mean, that's dominant. You know what I mean? I always draft running back first and running back 2nd and 3rd round, wide receiver, defense, tight end, kick, and then best of the rest. Yin yang, yeah, and there's a method, you know what I mean? But the thing is like if you go wide receiver, or wide receiver, running back, or the flip flop it, running back, wide receiver, you're running a risk of not having a tier drop down in each one that you do. Because if you go RB, the best wide receiver you're going to get is the 3rd round one. All the Julios, ABs, DeAndre Hopkins, Jujus, the Mike Evans, the Keenan Allens, the Tyler Lockett, like all the other ones that are good aren't going to be there. And then you're stuck with guys that you're hoping that can be there, and it'll fuck you over. And then if those guys get hurt that you picked on those running backs, then you're even thinner because you didn't even get the top tier wide receiver and you had an injury, and then now you're looking at your fucking bench for, some kind of backup like Montgomery for Le'Veon, and you're screwed, QB 2nd? Always top 3 in 5 years. That all depends on who you play, though, too. If you play people that actually know how to play, are you in a league with, people that have been playing for a long time? Is it $1,200 money league or is it like $100? I mean, you know what I mean? There's just, different leagues, different types of, methods that all work. That's for sure. You just got to find yours. But sometimes there's universal ones that you do. If you base it off a universal pattern and you stick to that pattern, you have a better chance of winning your league based off your draft. The draft is a big part because if you don't draft well, it's hard to get the guys to get there when other guys have already done it and they're already established and they have to just do a couple fillers throughout the year and hope that they don't have injuries, Wentz, Connor, Mack, Godwin. So there you're smart. You at least got Godwin there. Thomas, Ingram. Okay. So if it was me right there, so if you got Wentz and you got Connor, Matt, Godwin, Thomas, Ingram. So at this point right here, if I was picking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now you go number 1 defense. And then you pick the Chicago Bears. And then after that, you pick Justin Tucker. And then you go for the other players after that. That's the method that works. You know what I mean? Unless those picks are gone already, which I doubt. But if you go ahead of the curve, they'll start copying you after that, and you'll get the nice pieces. And you always want a great defense and a great kicker and do it back to back. But late. Round 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, but not too late. Brady, Connor, Fournette, Thielen, Sutton, Hunter. See, I'll be honest with that one, Yin Yang. I don't know if I like that lineup that much. I mean, I like Connor a lot, right? I don't like Brady and Fournette, really, because they're unreliable. Thielen, amazing. Sutton, I don't know. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders is probably going to be the number 1, so Sutton has got the number 1 spot soon, but he's the 2. Was it Hunter? Hunter Henry? Nollins, kicker, Will Lutz, and then Bears D. So I like half of your team, you know what I mean? But, there's some improvements that you could have. Hopefully you have another quarterback besides Brady, another person besides Fournette. and another person besides Sutton. You know, so it's like half the lineup is fire, but then the other half could be like upgraded, you know, a little bit better. Flex is Philly running back. What, Miles Sanders or Jordan Howard? See with that lineup though, I mean, I would most leagues don't even draft Tom Brady. So I'm not sure if you're a fan of Brady and that's why you're a Pats fan, or you know what I mean, but Brady in most leagues isn't even drafted. You know what I mean? It's not like they're saying that they don't think he can do fantasy, but the thing is his numbers are going to be a lot lower in fantasy than a lot of the other guys. Even though he has weapons and he can still do it, you know what I mean? But it's like your whole team is pretty much James Conner and Thielen and Bears D. I mean, you're really relying on those three things, and maybe that Will Lutz the kicker. So those four are trying to hold you down, you know. But if those don't, you know, get you stats, then you're really screwed. Eckler on the bench, amazing. And then I don't know if I should start him over Ingram. Oh, Eckler for sure over Ingram. Dude, you didn't even say that before, Justin. Eckler's starting. He's going to get carries like Melvin Gordon. That's a no-brainer. Eckler. And he can catch out of the backfield better than Ingram. And he can do better, you know, yards after catch. That's a no-brainer to me. But, I mean, like I said, Ingram could score, but Eckler's a guy that could score like twice. Or, you know, he's going to get more opportunities to get the yards and get the big plays than Ingram. Ingram will get less opportunities, but he might be able to do just as much with it. But for me, that's Eckler all day. That's a no-brainer. Wentz, maybe. Then I have Wentz, who maybe week 6. Yeah, I would have Wentz playing almost every game over Brady in fantasy. There's no reason that to have Tom Brady, I feel, over Wentz in fantasy. Wentz is better. You know what I mean? He'll have more weapons to work with, and he's younger, you know. 12-man league, I picked 12th, and I had to go wide receiver, which is okay because you picked 12th out of 12. Yeah, that's like the one scenario where you can pick, you know, RB, or wide receiver, because, you know, if it's a snake, right? Goff, Carson, okay, Henry can be improved. He's one of those more of like a bench flex guy. Michael Thomas, I love. Julio, Vance McDonald could be better, but you have at least somebody there. Mac, Saints D, and then Vinatieri. You need to improve the Saints D and get something better. Someone that you can have two with and swap back and forth. Vinatieri could be a better kicker, but I mean, that one will probably be okay. I like Mac. So the main weaknesses in the lineup that could be better are the ones that you already know. Henry can be improved. That could be like a bench spot, you know what I mean, a flex at the very best. You don't want Henry as your RB2 or you're not going to win. You need to have him on the bench or the flex, and that's it. And then McDonald, probably on the bench, have someone better. You know, if there's like a Jordan Reed type of talent was there, you know, that would be better. Ebron, better, you know. Yeah, if you have Mack, though, you could have Mack and Carson starting. That's what you'd want to do, Marlon Mack. And then, you'd have Henry as your flex, if you go that route, you know, depending on how you format your team there, or depending on who you had at wide receiver, you know. And the Saints D, like I said, you'd want to get something better there. You only need one kicker, you know what I mean? But McDonald and Saints D and Henry could be improved, but it's not bad. But, you know what I mean? You want to be able to have it smooth all the way through. DJ Moore, Sanders, Breida, Justice Hill. So you have wide receiver. So you have Emmanuel Sanders and DJ Moore. So you have those two starting at, or you have Michael Thomas, though. So Michael Thomas and Julio are your starters. So there you only have two. That's what you want. Carson, right? And Breida, right? And then you'd want to put Henry as your flex. And then just figure out what you're going to do. Drop Justice Hill and get someone better. Like you get rid of Justice Hill, and then you get a backup tight end for McDonald. Or you drop Hill, and then you get a backup defense to Saints D, for sure. You know what I mean? Those positions need to be helped. The tight end and the defense. So you can drop Justice Hill and get another defense with the Saints. Then you're looking better, right? Or you drop Justice Hill, and then you end up getting another tight end to pair with McDonald and rotate back and forth. I mean, Hill could be valuable, but it's not valuable when he's sitting that far in the depth chart. You know what I mean? And Emmanuel Sanders could be a guy that you could put in your flex if you had to. I'd rather probably go Henry if Henry's going to get a majority of the carries, because that would be probably smarter, even though that Sanders could score, and it's likely that he'll score against the Raiders. You know what I mean? But then you just have to weigh your options if you like the running back and Henry and the opportunities, or Sanders at the flex, you know? But that's what I would do in a heartbeat. Like, I make adjustments to my team, and then DJ Moore, I would probably drop DJ Moore or put him on my bench, to be honest. Drop Justice Hill for sure, but then DJ Moore could go on a bench, and then you'd want to just keep him there. I mean, you don't really need to start him over Michael Thomas or Julio. Even Sanders is better than DJ Moore, I feel. And he's coming off the Achilles, so we'll have to see. But as far as talent, DJ Moore will take the next step with Curtis Samuel with Cam, but Sanders, I feel, is going to be one of the main guys for Flacco, and he'll have more opportunities. DJ Moore's going to have to share a little bit, and that'll hurt him. 5 more picks before me again thinking of going for the flex. Geist gone, but Tyler Boyd's still on the board. Boyd is good. Yeah, Boyd is very good. Got Boyd. Okay. Guys could be worth it. Yeah, Bears D was gone, so I took Jags. There you go. So you got like the second best D. Wentz, Connor, Thomas, Matt, Godwin, Ingram, Boyd, Jaguars D. Now kicker. Tucker. You hear me? Just got Tucker. See, I just looked down, and you read my mind. I told you Tucker, and I didn't even look down in the comments, and you got it perfect. See? Now Jags D and Tucker. So now you got Wentz and Connor, Thomas, Mack. So you got 2 running backs, and then you got 3 wide receivers. Now you go running back. Boom. See? Peyton Barber. We're on the same page, right? So now you're getting depth there, right? How many picks do you have left? And who else? And then let's see, what pick are you on here? So let me look. Tucker. All right. So now you look to see at this point, you want to look at quarterback. Who's that quarterback that's left for you? Because I imagine you have like 16 spots, right? 6 spots. Okay. Who's left at quarterback right now? Yeah, man. I got you guys. You know what I mean? Hopefully this advice is helpful. If you follow my advice, I promise you guys will get better in your league if you don't win it, if you're like at the bottom. But if you're in the middle, you can go to the playoffs. And if you're already good, you can be great. You know what I mean? So who else is in your league there for quarterback? Anti. Murray, Goff, Jackson, Trubisky. So you get Goff immediately. Immediately Goff, like no question. So that way you have Goff and Wentz, and then you got a dynamic duo to swap back and forth. Jackson's got some potential with running the ball. He'll get a couple 80 to 100-yard games on the ground, but Goff is more accurate, right? He's going to be like a Wentz, And if Wentz goes down with any type of injury, you got Goff in your money. Money. Yeah, Goff, no question, bro. The Goff is a player that you'd want to have starting, even over Wentz. You know what I mean? Like they're both going to have so many weapons. They're going to score a lot of points, and then you can rotate back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Based off matchup. So you got Carson Wentz going against Dallas D. Ooh, a little tough in Dallas. And then all of a sudden Jared Goff is going to crappy for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Boom. Right? You got Jared Goff. You might not like Jared Goff or not believe in him. Cooks, Woods, right? Cooper Kupp, best friend. Gurley, Henderson, right? Higbee, Sean McVay. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, trust me, dude. You know what I mean? That's going to be a key to helping you get top position. You know what I mean? Because that way you have an insurance plan, and you get 2 guys that you can rotate back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Does Barber play well this week? He's going to share carries with Jones and then the other, foreign player that they have. So it's going to be a cluster. I wouldn't start Peyton Barber at all. I'd have him on your bench. If you put him at your flex, you're running a big risk. There's somebody better at the flex. You have Jordan Howard. Yeah. Miles Sanders probably has more upside, but you don't really know how the carries are going to be divvied. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe, you can go Miles Sanders, he can't block, but he's going to be more like elusive, a guy that can catch more out of the backfield, a little bit more athletic, more maybe upside, but it just depends on how many looks he's going to get compared to Howard. Is Howard going to get 15 to 20 carries, or is he going to get like 12 and Sanders gets like 10? Then I'll take Sanders 10 carries over Jordan Howard's 12 or 13. You know what I mean? Because he'll get more. But Peyton Barber's going to be splitting time too with 2 other guys, so I don't, who knows how many, that he'll get. But even though you have those type of picks left, those are the type of picks that you make that can help you, dominate. Because if you don't pick Goff, look who's left. Murray, Jackson, Trubisky, Winston, Cousins, Carr, Donald. And that's only if you wait 1 round, right? And some of those guys are gone, then you're stuck. What do you want? Donald, or you know what I mean, or like Winston. I mean, Winston has some upside, but I mean, I'd rather have Jared Goff in fantasy than fucking Jameis Winston. You know what I'm saying? Limited snaps, yeah. But but hopefully, you guys type in questions, I'll answer. But I'm telling you, if you go that route, so now you got all your starters out of the way. You already got a number 2 defense, right? You ended up getting the best kicker, right? So your team is starting to really come together, right? And you got almost all your pieces. So now it's just pretty much running backs, right? And Goff will probably, hopefully, still be there for you, right? And you can pick running backs and wide receivers. That's what you normally would be picking, right? But the thing is, you want to make sure you have depth, at the spots. Oh, shit. See? Right there. Now look at your roster. Wentz and Goff, you're fucking the game up, bro. You know what I mean? You have one guy has a bye week. Fuck it. You got the other guy. And you can rotate these guys back and forth based off matchup instead of just relying on Wentz to carry you the whole season, even if he has a tough matchup like at Dallas. Boom. That's how you win a fucking championship, or you at least get better, or at least you get in the top 3. So now the next pick, based off who you have and all your starters, now you're going to look at the best quality running backs that are available, right? Running back or tight end. Look to see what's available. Is a backup tight end available that's pretty solid, that has good value, that's sitting there that you can grab? You know what I mean? Look at the wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends and defenses. Those are going to be the spots. You got to kind of look at the value, see what's there. See what kind of talent is there. But, if you do those type of things, I mean, like I said, you might not have thought to pick Goff. You wouldn't have. But think about it. If you were the other person, they took Goff, and then you're like, all right, I'm ready to take a player. Njoku, Burton, Hooper still there. No, I wouldn't worry about any of those. You know what I mean? So no tight end. So then go to running back or wide receiver or defense. So if you go to running back, wide receiver, and defense, because there's not a lot of value there. I guarantee there's probably better value at running back or wide receiver or defense than that. And at this point, you can be looking for like a wide receiver number 2. Ebron is still there. Penny is still there. All right. And those are the pieces. I'd get Ebron for sure. So then you have Ebron, and then who else do you have? You have Ingram. Let me go back up and see who you have. Wentz, Connor, Mack, Thomas, Mack, Godwin, Ingram. You do have Ingram. So get Ingram and Ebron. Boom. You know what I'm saying? Look at that depth. Ebron and Ingram. You got 2 of the top 7 tight ends on the same team. You know what I mean? You got to just go back and forth, So once you get that position taken care of, you know what I mean? Then you can start looking at the others. See? Boom. I mean, look how much depth you have. See that? You would have normally went somewhere else and maybe picked a different player like a Njoku, but who has a better value? Njoku, Burton, Hooper, or Ingram and Ebron? You know what I mean? Like, Ebron even has 6 tight ends in the league. 2, right? Crazy. Look at all the rest of the depth that you have. If you type off your team here and then you let them know what you have, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then now you want to look at running back, wide receiver, and defense. How many spots do you have left now? I think you need probably running back at this point. Ebron, that's nice, man. Let me keep looking here. I'm going to look at your team. Wentz, Connor, Michael Thomas, Mack, Godwin, Ingram, Boyd, Jaguars D, Boyd, and then Thomas, and then Godwin. So you have 3, right? Mack and Connor. So you need another running back. Yeah, 4 spots left. Now you need a running back. Vance McDonald, Hunter Henry, or take a chance on Jordan Reed. Because the thing is, he's going to be the number 1 target for the Redskins, and he gets hurt a lot. But if you already have another running back or tight end and stuff, like, who do you have as your yin yang? Who do you have as your starting tight end? Is it Vance? Is that who you only have 1? Hunter Henry will get some looks too. You know what I mean? But I think Jordan Reed is most risk, but the most reward. Sometimes you have to take risks, like Vance McDonald will hit once in a while, but Wentz, Connor, Mack, Thomas, Godwin, Ingram, Boyd, Jaguars, Tucker, Barber, Goff, Ebron. Looks pretty sexy, don't it, Anti? Do you see that? Just a couple adjustments on when you pick the player at the right spot makes the team look so much better. Wentz and Goff, Connor, right, and Mack, Marlon Mack together, and Michael Thomas and Godwin. Are you kidding me? And Tyler Boyd? Fucking A. You can have that at your flex. Ingram and fucking Ebron. Are you kidding? Right? No weakness. Jaguars D, right? Tucker, best kicker. Fucking Jags, right? Look at that. Look at that solid pieces, right? So now you got to look at at running back. Anti. Look at running back here. Got to get some depth because you don't want to be necessarily so wide receiver heavy. You know what I mean? You got 2 tight ends, though, and you got the nice depth. Look to see who's available there. But like I said, Vance McDonald and Hunter Henry are going to hit every 2 to 3 games. You know what I mean? And they might get 4 points or 6 points. I don't really see them blowing up and getting 10 points a lot. But if Jordan Reed can stay healthy, there'll be more games of 8 points or more with him than with McDonald and Henry, I feel, on a kind of just based on what he means to that team. He's the number one option besides, obviously, guys getting the ball in the backfield. But Jordan Reed will be the number one target, I believe, on any quarterback once even Haskins gets in. So injury, there's a chance for injury there. But if you have Jordan Reed and McDonald, see how much better that looks? Instead of just Vance McDonald, if you had both options, it looks a lot better. Henderson, Hines, Jones, Balaj, Gore. Oh, man. Henderson, it's Jones, Balaj. Yeah, I'd probably go Gore out of those guys. You could go Henderson, with some upside, but you just don't really know. Gore's going to be getting looks, and he's sharing time with Singletary, as well. But who else is, well, you got 2 picks and you need a running back, so I'd go probably Henderson or Gore, you know what I mean, if you're trying to get a running back, but you need to get someone for depth there. But that's where I would go. Probably Gore first and then Henderson. They're probably going to give you Gore is probably projected for more points, I would assume. Edo Smith, there you go. See, like that, those are ones that sometimes you got to deep dive, and then sometimes the last pick, you want to pick the backup of your RB1 or RB2, right? Just in case if there's an injury, then you get the main one. Gore, nice. There you go. Not a big name, but you got so many good pieces already with the pieces that you have with Wentz and Goff. Most people don't have that. Ebron and Ingram. Most people don't have that either. So just the fact that you're getting better options there gives you more points, that you're not going to worry about with Gore. And even if you go with Michael Thomas, Godwin, and Boyd, that's solid. That might be one of the best flex options with Tyler Boyd or Godwin, because that's going to get you just as much points as a running back in that third spot. So, even though you're wide receiver heavy and you're not going to use Gore over Boyd or Godwin, you're going to want to play Michael Thomas, Godwin, and Boyd at the flex. And then your team's solid, And then you just got to decide between Carson Wentz or Goff each week and Ebron and Ingram. Boom. You know what I'm saying? But now at this point, after you got Gore, look at the positions like wide receiver, right? Defense. Because if there's not anything really left at running back at this point that's value-wise, running back, wide receiver, defense, look at some of those spots. Tight end, you're done. Quarterback, you're done. Take Sutton now. Who's available? He's still on the board. Who's available? What about defenses? What's the other defense that's available? You only have one right now, right? The Jags, right? Who else is available at defense that's just sitting there? How many picks do you have left? Hooper, Reed, Eifert, or Fant? Who do you think? Jordan Reed. Easy. Hooper will be able to get you probably better results right away, but not long term. Eifert gets hurt a lot. Noah Fant's a rookie. He's banged up already. Jordan Reed is the number one option, so Jordan Reed. Even though he has concussions and he gets hurt a lot, you know what I mean? Get Jordan Reed and get another tight end. But if you already have the number one tight end, Jordan Reed would be perfect. But if that 4 options, Jordan Reed, hands down. That's like a number 1 option, and then you rank them, and then Hooper would be 2, and then probably Fant 3 and Eifert 4, you know what I mean? Saints, Eagles, Broncos. What bye week do the Jags have? Make sure that they don't have the same bye week of any of those 3 defenses there. Got the Texans D. There you go. See, now you got another D. You just find that defense that's there. I was about to say, out of those 3, I mean, probably would have to be Eagles or Broncos based off points in fantasy, not necessarily like better fantasy team. But Texans D gives you another option, and they have a different bye week than the Jags, correct? Because that's the one thing in defense, you don't want to double up on defenses if you don't have to that have the same bye week, because then you have to look for another one after that. Who would you put in at the flex for wide receiver, tight end? Are you going to put down your lineup and I can see? Just type out all your lineups and I can tell you exactly where to go. How many picks do you have left, Anti? So you got 2 defenses, 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, solid pieces at wide receiver. Now you're going to want to look at running backs and wide receivers. They have the same bye. See, that's the one thing you had to look at, so then if you would have went like Broncos D, but it's okay if they have the same bye week. You can always drop one, but go back and forth until then, and you'll be fine. It's good to have options, especially if it's going to be a while. 2 picks left. It's okay. Houston, and think about the defenses. So Jags and Houston, you just block someone from using that defense against you. So sometimes it's good to get certain picks to prevent other guys in fantasy to use them against you. So that's why you pick that other tight end, that other quarterback. So Goff doesn't burn your ass, right? So Ebron doesn't burn your ass, right? That the Houston Texans D don't burn your ass because you got Jags. You just helped yourself, not only stash it on your bench, but you're helping yourself not getting fucking worked by those picks. You know what I mean? So 2 picks left. Right now you need to go like wide receiver and running back. So look at the best possible people there, and I can tell you who to pick. That's okay, Anti. That's still an amazing draft so far. And so at running back and wide receiver, you're going to want to deep dive. Like at this point, look for like Michael Gallup, right? D.D. Westbrook's probably gone, but D.D. Westbrook, Michael Gallup. You're going to want to look a little deeper. Tyrell Williams from the Raiders, with this AB fiasco. Someone that's going to be averaging like 8 or 9 points that no one's going to be thinking of. Henderson, Hines, and Jones. I don't really like those. And then what about wide receiver? Yeah, type in wide receiver and I can tell you. But Tyrell Williams from Raiders, he's there. Gallup's there. You could take them. That's a better value. Because I can always help you find other, pieces, even if you go a little heavy at wide receiver. But if your wide receivers are good, Godwin, Tyler Boyd, Albert Williams. Which Williams is it, Anti? Moncrief, Albert Wilson. Albert Wilson's kind of a sleeper. But who else is there? Tyrell Williams. Is that Tyrell Williams that's there? Anti, is that the Raiders? Yeah. Anti, if that's Tyrell Williams, the Williams you're talking about, grab him. Perfect, grab him. Because that's going to be AB's number 2. And then, like I said, if anything happens to AB, Tyrell, yep, absolutely grab him with that second to last pick. Huge value right there, grabbing a pick like that. Because that's going to be someone you can swap and play with, with those other guys that you have already, with Godwin and with your picks, with your team. And then you can type out your team and everyone can see how fucking good of a team it is, and you can see why I'm good at this shit. Wentz, Connor, Mack, Thomas, Godwin, Ingram, Boyd, Jags, D, Tucker, Barber, Goff, Ebron. Fucking team is just insane. Yeah, well, Gronk is one of those guys you could, obviously you could stash away if he comes back. But he's already got Ebron and Ingram. He's fine. You don't need another one. You know what I mean? But Tyrell Williams, definitely, that's one to get. And then the last spot that you're going to want to pick, you're going to want to pick a backup to one of your guys that you have that's in your on your team. So let me take a quick look. 2 picks, it's me, so Tyrell Williams. Russell Wilson, Thielen, Robert Woods, McCaffrey. Tariq Cohen, yeah, you don't want to have Tariq Cohen as your RB2. Hooper needs to be better too. Mike Williams. Yeah, your bench, Breida should be starting for you. Breida at RB2 because he's starting right now for the Niners. So that's no question. You replace Tariq Cohen, put him on your bench, and you put Breida in, right? Russell Wilson's good, and then Thielen and Woods are good. McCaffrey and Breida, 1-2, is good. Someone better than Hooper at the tight end position, right? Baltimore defense, something better than Baltimore D if it's something around. Jordan Reed and Sanu, yeah. So that's what I would do. Put in Breida at your RB2. Got Tyrell Williams, nice. Now we're going to go to your running backs and type in your, let's see who your running backs are. And you're going to go running back with the last pick, and you're going to pick a backup to one of your guys that you already have. So let's see who you got. So you got Connor, you got Mac. So at this point, you're going to want to pick up with the guys that you have, Jalen Samuels, right? Connor's backup, right? Or you want Naheem Hines if you have Marlon Mack. So you're going to want to get one of those guys, that's the backup running back to your guy. So that way, if they get injured, you don't have to worry about someone deep diving and, grabbing him on the wire and you don't get him, right? So you want to make sure that you have the backup, and that's how you win in fantasy, see? So Jalen Samuels, the second stringer, or Naeem Hines. I mean, that's who you're going to want to grab. So Gore, no, you don't have to worry about that there. And then Barber, Peyton Barber, yeah. So, yeah, I would go Samuels. Boom, there you go, see? So now you got the backup there. So if anything happens to James Conner, boom, that's that one spot that people don't think is important. Huge importance, because that way that if you have an injury, right, that guy Samuel's value goes on the wire, and if you're way on the wire, you don't get him. But if he's on your bench and then the guy gets injured, you feel good. You're like, fuck yeah, I was so smart. I picked him ahead of time, and he's already on my team. I didn't even have to do anything. That's how you fucking win in fantasy, right there. Now look at your team, and you can write it down, and look how great the team looks. I can start charging money for this. You see what I'm saying? People can start paying me $10, $20, $100. I can help people draft teams, $100, $200 fee. You know what I mean? This team is one of the best teams that you and me have ever constructed. Probably the best team that you've ever had ever. Look at it from top to bottom and type it out on the screen so that people can see your team in full. You know what I mean? And then you can see, like, some of them that have been in the room with us, they see the process. Kareem Hunt would be one of those guys to stash. But the thing is, one of the key things is picking up a backup of your RB1, RB2, or your flex with the last pick in your draft. If you do that, that's going to give you that insurance just in case if his James Conner goes down, right? You have Samuels, right? If Marlon Mack went down, you pick Hines, right? And then that helps you, right? Because boom, you're like devastated. Mack tore his ACL, or oh fuck, James Conner blew his Achilles. But then Jalen Samuels already on your bench, and he's going to be projected the starter with 11, 12, 13. You can still stay afloat and win your league when you have a devastating injury. If someone didn't do that strategy, then you're probably not going to get that same value, and you're going to be scrambling on the waiver wire hoping that you can get that guy, but you probably won't. But you have him already. See? You see that? That's how you win. Those little secrets. You know what I mean? Always do that. Period. But write your team down. Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah, me get wins. I definitely can answer questions. All right, so listen, this is the team that me and Anti just did. Obviously, one of the big fans. We're buds, so obviously we're going to make sure we get this, fantasy lit. Wentz, Connor. Let me read it off. Carson Wentz, Mr. Walk It To Him. James, fucking the Terminator Connor. Michael Thomas, right? Marlon Mack. Godwin, Steele, right? Beautiful. Ingram, great. Boyd, Steele, sleeper. Jags, D, amazing. Top 2 D, other than the Bears, right? Tucker, best kicker, right? Barber, and then Goff and Wentz. Wentz and Goff. you never would have had a lineup like this, with that flexibility. It's Wentz and then maybe like a Kyler or a Lamar Jackson or like a lower guy, Jameis Winston. You want Wentz and Jameis Winston, or you want Wentz and Goff and want to win a fucking title? You see how you pick these guys at a certain position and your team is way stacked. Ebron and Ingram, no one has depth at tight end like you, right? No one has Goff and Wentz. No one has depth and options like you, right? Texans D and Jags, boom. Not just Jags and Texans until the bye week and you drop Texans and get someone else. And then value picks, the 2 last picks sometimes are the most valuable because people think they're nothing. Tyrell, AB's backup, number 2 wide receiver like a Michael Gallup, great value with the player there instead of a shitty, 4th string fucking running back at the second to last pick. No, Tyrell Williams to back up Godwin and Boyd and Michael Thomas, that other guy that you can have in the bye weeks, huge. And then last pick, the backup running back to one of your RB1s, 2s, or the flex. And with this case, it was James Conner or Marlon Mack. So that means that it's going to be Jalen Samuels or Hines, right? Hines was gone. Jalen Samuels, boom. That's how you build a fucking championship. Boom. The legendary Diamond Miner. Hopefully you have one of these streams going again next year. Well, I'm going to be doing the fantasy thing every Friday. And then, I can give this advice. And like I said, it's proven, But Anti, you can let me know. Is that the best team that you've ever had in fantasy? And you see how I only drafted a little different from you. I drafted higher than you would have normally drafted certain spots. Some spots I did 2, you would have only done 1. And sometimes you would have went for running backs and wide receivers when I started going for defense and kicker. Do you see what I mean? Do you see how I did that? And then you never would have picked the backup running back to one of your starters with the last pick, but now from years forward you will, because you see the value in that secret. That secret alone, running back with the last pick in the draft, that's worth like $200 because you never know on that devastating injury that you get from one of those guys. Oh, and then you went from like having a shit day to be like, you know what? I can still win. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Oh, James Conner went down. Boom. Jalen Samuels. At least I can stay afloat for another week until I can find someone else on the wire. You feel me? Too fast. 49. Orion Pax. What do you do? I'm great, man. Doing a great fantasy show. Should I trade Emmanuel Sanders and Latavius Murray for Fournette? Ooh, a 2-for-1. It depends on what kind of depth you have at running back and wide receiver. Can you afford to do that? I mean, are you stacked at wide receiver and you can let Sanders go? Or are you thin at wide receiver? Like, what is your, that really just depends. Me get wins. Because the thing is the 2-for-1, I don't really like Murray in fantasy, right? Because he's going to be backing up, Kamara. But Sanders could be the option number 1, right? But Fournette is a nice flex or backup, running back. But the thing is he gets hurt a lot, right? So if it was me, I would do it. I would grab Fournette. I mean, as long as you have wide receiver depth and that Sanders isn't going to kill you. If you only have a couple wide receivers in, Oh, best team by far. You see that, Anti? Gang, gang, gang. You know what I'm saying? But people now, see, that's cool, though, that you actually were doing a draft here while I was doing the show. Because anyone that, they can talk a big game, and they can say they know what they're doing. But actually being in the room and watching me draft the team with you, if people go through it and now look at your team and you see it and you can agree with me, you know what I mean? That I have a method. The method works, you know what I mean? And you just got to stick to it. Sometimes you can defer from the method, but I guarantee if you do those secrets that I told you moving forward, every team that you have is going to be amazing. So much better. And it's just adjusting the picks a little bit of maneuvering and picking certain positions higher than you would, right? Picking 2 of something that you would only pick 1, or not even picking that position and picking something different, thinking outside the box, You feel me? Said I would have not been as good as team if it wasn't for my man Orion. Thanks, dude. Haven't played fantasy in a while. I'm stoked. And, dude, your team, though, that's what's got to get you excited. You have DJ Evans and Keenan Allen. DJ Moore? Mike Evans and Keenan Allen. Is that who you have? So you only have 3 wide receivers, though? So if you only have 3 wide receivers, How many running backs do you have? Because the thing is, if you only have 3, you need to make sure you have a backup for each guy. You know what I mean? So if you have DJ Moore and Emmanuel Sanders, and then that could be backups for Evans and Keenan Allen, you're not going to want to just be stuck with 3 and then have Fournette. You know, so at that case, I would keep Sanders and Murray. You know what I mean? Because that way Kamara gets a little banged up. You got another guy, and then you have 4 wide receivers, but you got to have more than 3. If you already had 4, I say do it. But if you only have 3, that's thin. Because then what happens if Mike Evans goes down with an injury? Right? Mike Evans goes down, then you're fucked. But then if you have Emmanuel Sanders and Keenan Allen, that's a lot better than DJ Moore and Keenan Allen in fantasy. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? So you got to have depth and think the worst. Mike Evans fucking fucked his knee up. He's out for the year. Then you have Sanders and Allen. You feel a lot better about that than Allen and DJ Moore, you know? Okay, the top 5 wide receivers in the league, and I follow every single team, go through every single team website. Everyone has their preferences, but this is the way that it breaks down. AB is a great wide receiver. He was the number 1 wide receiver for many, many years. He had a quote-unquote bad year last year and ended the league with the league-leading 15 touchdowns. But to me, he's not the best wide receiver in the league anymore, but I have him in my top 3. So the way that I break down the targets, hands, route running, right? The route tree, who you have at quarterback, how many points you get, how often you score, you know what I mean? How yak yards, how you do on turf and grass, you know what I'm saying? Home and on the road. There's a lot of factors. So for me, obviously you got Michael Thomas, right? At number 2, right? You got number 3, AB, right? Number 1, DeAndre Hopkins. You know what I mean? But those are my elites. And then I have Julio after that at 4, and then you have a few other wide receivers that you could sprinkle in and argue, Odell and Juju and Thielen and Mike Evans, and a few others. But that's me personally, So if you want me to really go on a list, if it was me right now and what I like, so I would go DeAndre Hopkins 1, right? Michael Thomas 2, AB 3, Julio 4. And I like Juju Smith-Schuster right now for 5. I like Mike Evans a lot too, and I like Adam Thielen. You know what I mean? I like certain guys a lot up there. You know what I mean? But I think Juju Smith-Schuster to me has the chance to be the 5th best wide receiver, and that's saying a lot. Being just as good as Odell or Evans, but I think he can take that next step. I think a lot of him. So. Jimmy G, Le'Veon Bell, Damian Williams, Tyreek, Juju, O.J. Howard, T.Y., Robbie Gould, Vikings D. It's not bad. Jimmy G is a little worried, but you're a 49er fan, so it's going to be up and down. I mean, if you would have had another quarterback, you're going to want to have another one to swap with him. If you only have Jimmy G, get another. Le'Veon, Damian Williams is nice. Tyreek is nice with Juju, fantastic. O.J. Howard, perfect. Top 4 tight end to give you balance. T.Y. Hilton, right, to be your flex. And then normally you want to have another running back there, but, T.Y. could be a flex person, right? And then Robbie Gould, I love that, because obviously you're, trying to pick people over your guy. Oh, yeah, Big Ben, perfect. Well, you want Big Ben starting most of the time, to be honest. But then Jimmy G, you can rotate in on different matchups, but Big Ben will probably get you more points. I mean, unless Jimmy G's fully right, And then Vikings D, and then you're going to want to get another D. But overall, with your team, it's nice. The only thing is getting some extra depth, at the flex with T.Y. to have someone you could put in besides T.Y. Another flex and another defense. But Big Ben is perfect. 2 solid QBs. Okay, so if I look at the NFC North as of now, who do you think will end up taking it this year? I thought the Bears would be better, going in. I really thought they would be like 11-5 or 10-6, but after seeing that shit show that we saw, it's tough to call. I think the Vikings could be 10 or 6, 11-5, and then the Packers, get 9 to 10 wins. You know what I mean? The Bears could go all the way down to 3rd place and Lions 4th. You know what I mean? I like the balance more on the Vikings that I do than the Packers, but the Packers have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, right? And the Vikings have Kirk Cousins. So it's like it kind of, they have a better overall roster on the Vikings, offense, defense, everything, but defense kind of overachieved for the Packers. So, I mean, anything's possible. But I could see the Vikings having a bounce back year and making the playoffs. It could be Vikings 11-5 and Packers 10-6, one of the wild cards. So, for my week 1 RB2 after Connor, should I do Mac, at Chargers, Barber, San Francisco, Gore. Oh, easily, Mac. He's a starter. Barber's going to be splitting time even if he does start, and Gore's splitting time too. So, and the Jets defense, yeah, absolutely Mac at Chargers, because even though the Chargers D is tough, I bet you Mac can score once or twice in that game, period. Connor and Mac is your workhorses. You're going to have to run with those. Those are your thoroughbreds. So you got to hope that those guys don't get hurt. And then as the season goes along, I have to find you guys better than Barber and Gore. So you just hang on to them for now, but I'm going to be searching and helping you get better if someone drops someone on, based off necessity on the wire. And then we step that running back position up, and like a Geis gets there, we grab him. You get a little bit more depth there. A Breida, someone's there, boom, pick them up. A little bit more depth, So you can do it like that. But, that's how it goes. Everyone has preferences and what they can do. But as you can see, like if you look at the video, yeah, I don't like Barber because you're splitting carries, and Gore, you're going to get that Jets D. You know what I mean? Jags D versus Chiefs or Texans D for Saints? Neither. Those are rough matchups. You know what I mean? Obviously, the Chiefs and, Mahomes is going to get his on that Jags D, even though that Jags D is probably number 2, right? Do you have the ability to switch the Texans D now and drop them and then pick up another defense like Broncos or one of those other teams that was sitting there? Or do you have to wait a couple days for it to all register, Because if you can drop the Texans D now and pick up another defense that has a different bye week, then you may want to do that. So that way that you don't lose points on the Saints and Chiefs week 1. You want to try to get some points, So I would drop the Texans D and then look to see who's got the best matchup, Maybe Dallas, if Dallas's D is there, against the Giants this week, or maybe Seattle defense versus the Bengals at home. That could be a good streaming defense just for a week, until you figure shit out. If you want to keep them or go with someone else, you got to type out your options for defense if you can make the change. And if you can, then that's what I would do. You always modify your lineup, right away. Even if it's after the draft is over, if you can make a move, you make a move and improve your team and make sure you get all your points lined up for week 1. Don't leave any behind. Jags D could get some points, but they could get as little as a couple just because of Mahomes. Same thing with Drew Brees and Michael Thomas against that Texans D. Saints and Chiefs are winning those games. So you want to have someone better than that Texans D in the matchup, So can you switch it now? Because if you can switch it now, type out the teams that are available, and I'll tell you which one to grab. We have to figure out who they're playing. Yes, I do. I absolutely trust Davante Adams. I think he's a top 8 wide receiver in the league. He could have top 5 fantasy stats at the end, even though he's not a top 5 wide receiver yet. But he's on the cusp of being a top 5 wide receiver, kind of like Juju, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, that next wave of wide receivers. But I like Juju Smith-Schuster the best. As far as the new young wide receiver that could hop in the top 5. But if I had to pick a second one, it's Davante Adams right behind him or right in front of him. So those guys, even though Mike Evans is great and I love him too, he's pretty damn reliable, and you could have Mike Evans at 5. But I kind of have, and Mike Evans is my guy. I'm a Bucs fan. So for me saying it, I know he's dominant and he's good, and you know what I mean? Is reliable, and he's got great hands, you know what I mean? But I think Juju and Davante Adams are just as valuable as Mike Evans, if not more. So that shows you I'm not a homer. I don't say Mike Evans is number 1 or number 3 or number 5, So, yeah, you can get Cowboys, Seahawks, Browns, Titans, Colts, Steelers, Jets. Boom. All right, so as you look at those, who would you want long term? Browns, right? That's a good team to have. They have a good defense. Cowboys got the Giants, but Saquon might go off. Seahawks would be like a streaming one against Bengals for just this week, right? But the one to pick out of those is probably be the Browns. Who did the Browns play in week 1? Does it have the same bye week for you? Because if not, then you just got 2 elite Ds in the Jags and the Browns. So let me take a quick look. And what is the bye week? The bye week for the Jags is what? And what is the bye week for the Browns? And if they're different, then you go Browns based off matchup if the matchup is somewhat decent. So let's look. Who do they play? The Titans. Oh, absolutely. Browns D at home. Browns D at home against the Titans. Yep. That would be what. And then you got what? Seahawks is the Bengals. But look at week 2. Who did the Seahawks play after that? Seahawks play the Steelers, so you don't want them. That's like a streaming 1-week offense. And then Cowboys, you have the Giants, and then who do the Cowboys have after that? Right, the Redskins on the road, so you don't necessarily want that. So absolutely, positively, the Browns are a top 5, top 6 defense. You want to grab them, especially for that Titan matchup, and then you're going to want to start them over the Jags, and then you just maximized your points for this week. You see that? That's what you do. And then you got a team that you can keep back and forth with the Browns and the Jags. You literally have the number 2 and the number 5 or number 6 defense on the same team. Or maybe number 5 and number 2. Who else has that flexibility? You think the guy with the Bears defense has the number 3 defense also? He has like the let's say he's got the Bears and the Bills, or something of that nature. Probably not. Boom. See? Look how much better it is. Now you got Browns, right? And that defense is going to be good. Myles Garrett will be a top 5 MVP candidate, right? And see, even though you picked Texans and you got rushed, right? You still make moves after the draft. You look at your points. You look at the matchups. You look to see what mistakes you made if you drafted too many that have the same bye week to make maneuvers and changes. And that one single move that you made right there could give you 2 more wins in the regular season in fantasy because you made the move of getting the Browns early before they popped off and someone grabbed them or saw that they were there, because they clearly are the best defense, as far as long term to keep, right? And they have an awesome matchup week 1 where you're not going against Mahomes, you're going against Mariota or Tannehill at home, and Baker's probably going to beat the brakes off of them. So you could end up getting real big points with Cleveland. There's a possibility, Boom. You see that? That's how you build a team. Now you should be super excited. So now you have depth at the defense, the tight end, the quarterback. And so all you're going to be doing is going not against them. You're not going against the other people on your league. You're going against yourself and your bench. You're looking at stats, Wentz, right? Turf, on the road, Goff. Who is the matchup easier? And then and then all you're doing is you're weighing out the options based off the matchup. No favoritism. You know what I mean? Should I drop Kareem Hunt? No. That's a nice piece to have, depending on when you picked him. If you picked him very, very late, because if, Chubb gets injured, Hunt's the number 1 guy on Cleveland. So it's a sleeper one. It's like Melvin Gordon or A.J. Green on the bench. You picked them just hoping that they will play or get signed, and Hunt, once the suspension is over, you saw him in preseason. He ran hard. He would be a guy you could maybe put in the flex at some point, or he'll be the starter if Chubb goes down. But yeah, I wouldn't do that. So Orion should be able to name your team, Anti. You say, he was a free agent. And then you picked him up, so you have him on your team right now? Yeah, keep him. That's a stash, you know what I mean? That's one of the best backup running backs in the league that you could start. If anyone would have disaster and the running back went down and you had to put in the next man up, that's probably the best next man up. Dude, he's Kareem Hunt. He had the problems off the field, but he didn't, dominate his rookie season and get like the most yards in the NFL for nothing. I mean, he's talented. And with that kind of team, Boyd, Barber, or Ebron at flex. Oh, yeah, Boyd. It doesn't matter. But Boyd is the number 1 target, so it doesn't matter that he's at the Seahawks, right? A.J. Green's not playing, so who's Andy Dalton going to go to the whole fucking game? And who led in targets last season? Boyd. Avoid the Boyd. Remember hearing me say that? Avoid the Boyd. We made that up, right? Because he's so good. So you're definitely going to want to have Boyd there, period. That's going to be the best option for you. He could score once or twice. I normally like running backs in the flex, but if you have great ones, like a great wide receiver 3 option in the flex that could be a 2, right? Godwin or Boyd or D.D. Westbrook, that's solid. Very, very reliable. You know what I mean? Like I said, he's going to be just as reliable as like a Tyler Lockett, going from a wide receiver 2 to a 1 because Baldwin's gone. You know what I mean? He's going to be awesome. But yeah, that's a no-brainer, Boyd. And then look at your team and how sexy it is on paper. Oh, I don't need to name them. Just the fact that I helped you. You know what I mean? That's that. You name them whatever you want, big dog. You know what I'm saying? Unless I come up with some kind of funny name for one of the players that you roll with. But you're the Bird Gang. But the thing is, it's like I hope I taught you something, and I hope I taught other people in the room that you guys can see. It's one of those things with fantasy. I can do this for hours and hours and hours and hours. I mean, look at the time right now. Look how long I've been doing this, right? So I've been doing this for as long as a game. You know what I mean? Look what time it is, you know? So, I mean, I could do this 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. I don't get tired of it because that's what I do. How many people do you know that could grind and do 3 hours straight? Just talking fantasy, you know what I mean? This is the sleeper spot to be in. You get the secrets, you know, on how to dominate. So you're scared about Julio? I wouldn't be. Vikings defense is great. Xavier Rhodes closed, right? But the thing is, it's Julio, top 4 wide receiver in the league, so you'll be fine. You know, Matt Ryan needs to go somewhere for points. You got Ridley, you got Sanu, but Julio is amazing. You'll be okay. I can look at your team and see if I can come up with something instead of that. I mean, this is a pretty special team, Anti. Is it it's not for money, it's just like for fun? Or do you guys have any type of money associated with this league? But as you look at everyone else's team, they're looking at your team and they're like, fuck, who is this guy? How did he draft so well? He has no weak spots, not even on his bench. Looking at your team right now, I'm just scrolling up and trying to go through. Oh, man, your team is stacked. Stacked, dog. Yeah, so if I was looking at your team and I would come up with a team name, like, you know, you have Mark Morrison, Return of the Mac. You know, you Return of the Macs with Marlon Mack. I mean, you could do something like that. You know, you don't have to have Walk It to Him Wentz's. You know what I mean? You could do something like that, you know, instead of just the birds. Just be creative with one of the team names. Instead of Revenge of the Nerds, Revenge of the Birds. See? You could do like that. You know, you just got to go outside of the box and think creatively, you know. That's a pretty good one, Revenge of the Birds. I like that one. That's probably the best one. Since, you know, if anyone watched Revenge of the Nerds and they're familiar with that movie or movies, they'll be like, oh, creative. They'll be like, that's a good one. I have Jones, Hill, and Thielen starting, Connor, and Cook and Mayfield. Kenny Stills. Let's see. Let me look what you got. You have Julio, Jones, and Hill, and Thielen starting, and then Connor and Cook and Mayfield. Yeah, that's good. There's nothing wrong about that. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. Hopefully, I can go through this. Yeah, Revenge of the Birds. You like that? See, perfect. See, that's a good one. All right. So there you go. I mean, that's, you know, I've been on, you know, for 3 hours. It's funny. I only tried to stay on for maybe an hour, but it shows you my dedication. If I know a friend or someone in need needs help with fantasy, I'll stay there with them throughout the whole process. And anyone that watches this and goes back, thank you to everyone that did, you know, the donations. Yeah, I don't know. Something happened with the stream or whatnot with maybe my internet, you know, connection there was being all wonky. Maybe for being streaming for 3 hours straight, you know, there's going to be some type of adjustments. But I do need to get some sleep to get ready for this Ducks game tomorrow. I'm taking a couple people to it, so I'm excited. Revenge of the Birds, baby. You know what I mean? That team is sick, bro. And like I said, you need help any way through. I mean, you got definitely probably the best team in the league. You know what I mean? Like if you look at all the picks and who you got, it's crazy. Yeah, no problem, man. I got you. I mean, I've already helped, no joke. In the last 3 or 4 days, I've probably done 5 fantasies or 6 or 7, just helping people, you know, and them just reaching out to me by text message or Twitter and, you know, going through that. But now your team, imagine if you picked by yourself. Do you think that you would have been able to pick a team that good? You know? and you learn some awesome new things, new tips, and you can copy that style that I taught you, and you can go back and look to see when you picked the certain players, and you can remember that, write that down, so then you have an idea of how to go in the future, running back, wide receiver, running back, tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, number one defense, number one kicker, and then the rest of those other guys, the different positions, the backup Ds, and then the last pick, you pick the backup running back of one of your RB1, RB2, or flex. Always. O-Dog, legend, smart guy, smart dog. Leader. You know it. Yeah. I got you, though, but don't you, I don't know how often you play fantasy, or is it something that you've just done, periodically here and there, but you can see, someone that is obsessed, with football and loves the game and does all the research. I feel in fantasy football, there's so much money to be made and respect, but, like I said, I feel like I'm the biggest ringer, out there. I can give you these little tidbits that if you use them properly, you take your team from being a 7 to like a 10. Or everyone is looking up at you and you're like, holy shit, I got the best team in the league. And everyone's looking at your roster, even your bench looks amazing. And they're like, how the hell did he construct that, So, once or twice. Yeah, right? See? I got you, man. Gang, 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 Anti. I feel good that I helped you out, Got that team right. So I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll try to log in live if I end up, going live in Eugene, if my phone can handle the reception there, so you guys can see me tailgating and seeing the fans, and hopefully I can get in Autzen and I can show you what it's like. 4th row behind the Ducks bench. Northwest Sports Fanatics for life. Fantasy genius, your boy O-Dog, trying to drop the knowledge and make people better. And Anti's team now is forever going to be amazing. Best Sports Channel on YouTube. Boom. Give you that advice. And go back, Too Fast 49, if you didn't see all the picks, scroll up on the comment section, or if you want to look at that. Like I said, anyone can use that for reference, and they'll be like, holy shit, that's an amazing team. Revenge of the Birds, right? We got it, baby. So I hope you guys have a great night. I'll tune in tomorrow, and then on Sunday, I'm going to be doing Rams and Panthers, and then I'm going to do Cowboys and Giants, and then in the same day, Marcus will come over on the third game, and then I'll do the Patriots and the Steelers. So, I'm going to be busy. So you're going to see your boy grinding big time on the weekend. So I hope you guys have a great night. I hope those tips helped you guys out. I love you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash the like button. And I got one question for you. Who talk sports like us? Who talk fantasy like your boy O-Dog? It's me, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Have a great Friday, great weekend. Revenge of the Birds, championship. Let's go. Have a great one. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.